Good evening, well, good afternoon, I should say, and welcome to the Australasian Sim Racing 2006 Foster's Australian Grand Prix. Bit of a mouthful, but we're there, and currently got 14 cars in the server, and well, this is it. Historic Formula One racing, obviously right up my alley, Formula One, and co-commentator alongside me. He's another one that's a little bit of a keen interest as well on Formula One as well. He hasn't been around the ASR, AMS Oz community for a long time, but Stez, welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Lewis. It's good to be back. Yeah, definitely my love of Formula One, my love of motorsport started with Formula One, so I think I've picked the right event to come back and have a bit of a go in the commentary box alongside you, Lewis.
Yeah, so certainly good to have you back. And yeah, we've got a very interesting treat for us this afternoon. Would have liked to have seen a couple more cars. We are still a couple short, so we might still see a couple people join later on in the warm-up session after qualifying. But from what we've seen so far, once everybody has done pre-qualification, times are looking pretty close, although you are seeing some of the faster guys that managed to nab onto some midfield drives just start to edge ahead. But Stairs, it does look like it's going to be pretty interesting with probably the fastest driver in the field driving the slowest car. Of course, famously, the Super Guri was a car design from 4 years previous that had been modified to 2006 regulations. So Luke's doing a pretty good job to put himself up as high as he is. He's driving under the pseudonym of UGE Day, but it is going to be a tough afternoon for him.
Yeah, Luke Rosella, for those of you following along at home, is racing under that moniker of UGE Day, one of the notoriously worst Formula One drivers in history. But yeah, it's an important point, actually, that these are not equal cars. They are based on the historic physics of the time. So your Renault is going to be fast and your Super Aguri is going to be slow.
Yeah, so that is something that to look out for here. We did have a pre-qualification all set up for these drivers. So the fastest drivers would, in essence, get put into some of the slower cars. And speaking of Nathan Higginson, one of the drivers lucky enough, or unlucky enough, I guess, to be put into the Renault, the World Championship winning car. He's in Fernando Alonso's car with Al Please, who is our friend Rody in the Giancarlo Fisichella car here. So going to be interesting. This is Q1, of course. This is the first year stairs, so we did have multiple qualification stages. We don't have enough cars for 3 qualifying sessions, but we do have enough for 2. So 14 cars at the moment, and 4 cars will be knocked out in this first session.
Yeah, so we've got 13 minutes left, or 13 minutes and 30 seconds or so left in this Q1 session to determine who those top 10 are. No times on the board yet. In fact, I see a Red Bull spun out in one of the gravel traps towards the back end of the lap, turn 13, I think that is. So that's a bit of a concern for the Red Bull, which would be, I think, the only Red Bull in this field, which is Curtis Igmanis, yes. But we're on board there with Noah Tara, so let's see how he negotiates this Albert Park circuit.
A bit of work has been done to make it look a little bit more like the 2006 version of the circuit, and this is a very handy first sector. He did look very fast in the practice session. Overall, 4th fastest time set by drivers after they've been allocated, but he did look quick towards the end of the session. So we'll see what he can manage here. The Williams was one of the faster cars, funnily enough, in the early part of 06, but they couldn't quite put it all together, and famously a very unreliable engine in the Cosworth, so that might be something to look out for him later on. Very fast in 11 and 12.
It's very strange in 2006 to see kind of the BMW Sauber, which looked more like the Williams of the previous year than the Williams of 2006 did. So it was a bit of an adjustment, sort of seeing one team, BMW Williams, sort of merge into, dissipate into 2 different teams in Williams and BMW Sauber.
Yeah, you did have the Sauber in 05 being obviously very blue with bits of white and cyan and stuff like that, as Noah Paracostas alone 5.4, and that is the fastest time we've seen set so far once drivers have been allocated their cars. So off to a flying start here. Steve Warwick in the Ferrari. Here goes P2, just 2 tenths to drift. And he did have the Sauber. It was mainly blue in '05 with the Williams in the famous white and blue BMW colours. And just a role reversal for 2006 after their infamous split.
A couple more times coming in now. Stenberg slotted into third, ahead of Cox in fourth, and then we've got Jones fifth, Pease in sixth, and John McDonald has just snuck into the top five there. So we've got 11 times on the board now, and Trent Allen and Nathan Higginson, the two in the drop zone as it stands.
We do have, just looking at the lifetime, Steve Warwick is perfect in the first sector, right on board Mark Webb. The BMW, he's in Heidfeld's machine.
It's been a couple of car swap arounds as well. We can see Taipan, who originally said he wasn't able to race, and he's jumped into the McLaren, which was vacated by Ben Hall, I believe, earlier in the day.
And this is correct. As Matt Webb goes to fourth, we'll jump back to Steve Warwick and see how he's travelling. We've got Ryan Cox, purple in the middle sector, and Toro Rosso, so good effort from him. Very good opener. Oh, and Warwick doing what essentially Schumacher did.
Yeah, he was lucky to keep that one out the wall, so he will go to the line and he puts it in second. So not a bad effort. Could have been better though. He only missed out on that top time by a tenth and a half over Noah Turra.
Kurt Stenberg's improved as well. He's gone to a 26.0. So time's coming in thick and fast at the moment. Ryan Cox coming to the line, and he must have picked up a track cut there in that final sector, because didn't register a time. McDonald going slow.
Taipan has just sort of spun on the exit of the final corner, so that's put paid to his chance of trying to get out of the drop zone, and he's lost his front wing in the process. So we didn't see that, I don't think, on the broadcast, but Taipan's gone back to the pits and we'll have another go. We've got 9 minutes and 45 seconds left in the session, so there is still plenty of time. There is a replay of Taipan. That was a heavy hit.
Yeah, that grass on the exit, it is AstroTurf on the normal version of the circuit, but being modified, they didn't have AstroTurf at the exit of the final turn in real life back then. So it is quite bumpy, and Michael Schumacher and Juan Montoya found out the hard way in real life, and Steve Warwick essentially did exactly what Michael Schumacher did, funnily enough, with the same car. And once again,
so
Ryan Cox
we're being historically accurate with our crashes here.
Yes, it's good to see that the community is keeping up with the whole historical aspect of this. Now,
fantastic to see.
Just need
Ryan Cox.
Yeah, just need John McDonald to follow through with the old putting the Honda on pole and then blowing it up on the last lap.
Coming out of the final corner. But was a good year for Honda, sort of a bit of a breakout year for Jenson Button, winning his first race. Ryan Cox comes to the line, improves to 4th place. Good job.
Great effort from him. Yeah, Honda did start to get it together. Obviously, 04 was a good year for them. 05, they dropped back a bit, even with Ferrari falling off the pace due to the tyre regulations that year. But yeah, they come back in 06. They didn't start, well, they started okay, but they did start to come on strong in the second half of the year. And I think Button was actually outscored both Schumacher and Alonso in the second half of the year.
Crazy, isn't it?
And he only won one race in that time as well, so that's just not picking up DNFs. It was a chaotic race where he did win that.
I remember Alonso ended up DNFing out of that race with a wheel not attached properly, I believe. Now Nathan Higginson was on a good lap, but I think he's gone off onto the grass somewhere. He was up by 2 seconds on his PB, but I think he's backed out of the lap, so he's just coming around the final corner now. And we'll see whether it actually is still a decent time. I saw him weaving around. It's a 1:27. Yeah, he did get a track cut on that. So he will go again. Currently sat in 14th place, but I think he's got more pace than he's shown so far.
Practice times. He's done a 26.0 in overall passes. Obviously, 31.8 is well off of that. So it's time to be had for Higgins. He's just got to put it all together. A little bit of understeer there through turn 4.
The Renault was known for understeer, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot of weight distribution towards the back in that car. He's up 2.9 seconds on his own time. Understeer though, turn 6 down there. So not ideal, but he's not far away from Noah Turra. He does put it together, should get himself out of the drop zone. Oh, but
which would
gone down to first and almost dropped.
See if it cost him. He was still up substantially. Remember, he's really only aiming for that time set by Kai Jones to knock him out of the top 10, although he would like a bit of a buffer at frighteningly fast turn 11 and 12 section of the racetrack, which has since been renamed. Oh, he's
gone!
And he's into the red gravel. That is unfortunate. He's just pushing that little bit too hard, I think.
I wonder if he's gone down a gear too many, just like he did down there at against 9 and 10. So right on board here to take a note, if you can just see it, faintly in the red there. He's gone, maybe, he may have just too much rear brake bias on that one, but...
maybe. It's very easy to lock the rears by going down a gear too much as well, but he'll go again. It's still got time. I think he's just got to settle down a little bit, maybe play the margins game, because this really isn't about setting the Hollywood times. It's just about getting inside that top 10.
Yeah. And he doesn't have all that much time to find if you can just keep it together, because you can see he was only 0.7 away, I think, in the middle sector. He's made a mistake. We have had Noah Turret improve on his previous time, so he's gone under the 1 minute 25 mark, 24.9.
And he's coming into the pits just as we come on board with him. But yeah, that was a great time. 6/10 clear of Steve Warwick, as we see Steve Warwick, who's currently spun on the exit of, what is that, 14?
Yeah, 14 down there. One of the corners that has been re-profiled for the modern day. And,
great job from Steve Warwick, though. He's currently second. Good to see.
0.6 away from Tara, but he's got half a second on the rest of the field. Stenberg, as we can see, Luke Rosella's popped himself up into third. Now, that lap time is about 5 seconds faster than what the real-life car managed in qualifying. So I'll have to go through and have a little bit of a look, but I'm pretty sure the fastest time in qualifying was a 1 minute 30 by Takuma Sato. So it's a fair lap time, but
that is a fair lap time considering he's beaten Stenberg by a small margin there. But Stenberg's in the Toyota, which was a significantly better car than the Super Aguri. So Yuji Ide, or Luke Rosella, as he's more commonly known, taking that car to places where it shouldn't really belong so far.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Tell me before that he's driving this thing at 110% just to try and get lap time out of it, and he's probably not going to finish the race because of it, because he is throwing the car around, and to get that lap time out of it, he's very, very impressive. He's right on the edge there. You can see the rear's just about to come around. A little move at the steering wheel, able to hold on to it from there down at 14.
So early on the throttle. Oh, he's touched the grass, I think, with his rear tyre and then spun it around absolutely instantly, like someone flicked a switch. And it's spun like a top, and he'll want to try and avoid the Honda. He's done well to come out of the way of the racing line. Cars following him, but wow, that really did show how much he was pushing and committing, didn't it?
Yeah, he's throwing the kitchen sink and a little bit extra at that. And
he just wandered a little bit too far onto the right-hand side of the racetrack where the grass was, and it was a very instantaneous spin.
Yep, and well, funnily enough, we've got both the Renaults in last and second last position here. Rody LP's, that is the second up on his own time. He's got a Honda behind him. I think that's Brendan Ross in the Barrichello car. As you see, it's like Turmo or Curtis Ogmanis move up into 10th. But what can Rody do here? Just under 3 minutes to go now in the session.
One of the slowest qualifiers, but in one of the fastest cars, so that is one of the benefits of this type of way of selecting cars, is giving a bit of a handicap to the faster drivers. LPs or Ben Rhodes slots into 12th, so he still needs to find a fair bit of time to get into that top 10. See what Nathan Higginson can do. Seen him pushing the limits, spinning on the previous lap into that red gravel. A little bit of an early turn in there, just grabbed a bit of grass on the inside and deep into that corner. Let's see how he negotiates the final corner. Again, he goes too early a little bit, has to kind of get out of the throttle. That would have cost him maybe 3 or 4 tenths of a second to the line. Let's see what it is. 11th. It's 11th. It's not enough. He's got to go again.
Yeah, there's 3 tenths in it between himself and Ignanis. Of course, Ignanis in the Red Bull. This was long before they become quite successful and contenders.
Yeah, they were very much a midfield team in 2006 with Red Bull. And Nathan Higginson is starting to run out of time because there was only about 2 minutes left in the session when he crossed the line, so he'll get this lap and one more if he's filled up for it.
He's down in his own time, but you did see in the last sector there's definitely more time in it for him. Just overdriving it, I'd say.
I think, it's down by 2/10 on his PB, but I think he lost a bit of time in that final sector of his previous lap, so that might not be the whole story.
1.4, there it is.
Well, that looked good. Early on the throttle out of turn 11 there, or turn 12 I should say.
Yeah. And if he continues on this kind of pace, 1.4 seconds will get him between Ross and Webb.
Oh, playing with the edges of the track there. There was the AstroTurf and there was the grass, and he was kind of straddling that.
Shades of Vettel in 2011.
Much cleaner through here. Yeah, a bit of understeer in the final corner, but I think it looked a lot cleaner than the previous lap. I reckon this should slot him into the top 10. Fourth, good job.
We've also had Ryan Cox jump up in the Toro Rosso up into second. He had threatened all session long to improve, and he's done it. Purple in the middle sector again.
Just off camera, Termo has had an issue and has gone back to the pits. He spun out and hit the rear wing. And, sorry, Curtis McManus goes by Termo on Discord, but he's gone back to the pits and there's not enough time left to get out and start another lap, so he is one of the cars who will not be progressing to the next part of qualifying. All of the others, Taipan's just crossed the line, all of the others outside the top 10 will still get a chance to improve.
Though Kai Jones, who was on a timed lap, looks like he's coming back to the pits. He let Kurt Stenberg go there, so that's his session pretty much done. He's got the cog up as well. Taipan has just started a lap. And
LP's is finished, and he's 12th. Yeah, Taipan was just, I think, the last car to cross the line. 5 seconds left when he came across. He's not lighting the timing screens up, though. He's about a 10th away from his own personal best.
He hasn't done too much practice, so I think the more laps he does, the faster he's going to go, but it's going to be difficult from here for him to get himself into the top 10. Spent a little bit of time on himself, but yeah, well off. At least the fastest time set in the middle sector.
Well, he wasn't planning to race a couple of hours ago today, so it makes sense that he wouldn't have practiced that much if he wasn't planning to make the event. Yellow flag in the previous corner there, but it seems to have cleared itself. A little bit wide through there, and one more corner to go for Taipan. He'll come across the line.
A solid last sector. He might sneak up a position or two here. He goes to 12.
Yep, very good job. So Kai Jones is in the pits. That's it for Taipan, and that is our top 10 sorted. So Noah Tara from Ryan Cox, and then we've got Steve Warwick, Nathan Higginson. UGE Day ended up 5th. Matt Webb in 6th ahead of Kurt Stenberg. John McDonald, Brendan Ross, Trent Allen rounds out our 10 that will go forward to Q2.
Yep, so that means that Curtis McManus, Taipan, LPs and Kai Jones have been eliminated. So we did see in real life the Ferraris did struggle quite a bit because I think they went a little bit too hard on their tyre choices throughout the weekend. Felipe Massa, I think, was knocked out in Q2. He made it out of Q1 but crashed. And so he started, I think, down in 16th, and Schumacher failed to make Q3.
Yeah, they really struggled, didn't they? They were still kind of reeling from the 2005 rule changes. But they did get their campaign they did get their campaign going and managed to compete for that 2006 championship in the end.
Yeah, they were able to put it together. Melbourne wasn't a particularly good weekend for them, and when I think Ross Brawn was one that did say that, you know, people do like to point at, say, you know, what happened with the Japanese Grand Prix where they were 1-2 on the grid and Schumacher had the engine failure while in the lead, but if you go back to Melbourne and Monaco and circuits like that where they should have picked up points, that's where it cost them
Yeah,
in the end.
it's always easier to blame those races that are fresh in people's memories. For example, the pit lane incident with Massa at Singapore in 2008, where they drove away with the fuel hose still attached, which cost him vital points that probably would have meant he won that championship. But there were plenty of other times where he threw it at the scenery as well, which if he hadn't done that, he would have also won the championship.
2008 year, I think both drivers, neither Hamilton or Massa wanted to win that championship with
Yeah.
the way they were driving it that year. If it wasn't for, half a dozen penalties for Hamilton for passing people off the circuit and blocking people in qualifying, he would have been better off. And if Massa hadn't have thrown it off the road in half the races he was in, he would have been in a good position. But that's why we love these kinds of world championships. Literally the smallest of margins and smallest of mistakes can lead to the most bitter of results in the end result.
That's right. Well, it's also rare to have a situation like we had there, where we had two drivers who were really only fighting for the championship for the first or second times in their careers, whereas now we have this kind of changing of the guard sort of stuff happening, where there's one really experienced driver and one much newer, wet behind the ears sort of driver. Although, having said that, Max Verstappen is not wet behind the ears anymore. And there's a lot of people who are just struggling to keep up with him.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that he's still, in his early to mid-20s and what he's accomplished already, getting into Formula 1 at 17 years of age. He didn't even have a driver's licence when he was driving in Formula 1. That's how young he started. But we've got Q2
Crazy.
underway, and Noah Tara will be the one to lead us out. Now, drivers do have to contend within this session, Stairs. They have to put their race fuel in this session, and that's what they'll start the race with. So do you gamble on starting on less fuel to get better qualifying position, or do you tank it up to try and sort out a better strategy for the race?
Yeah, well, that will certainly be something that we won't really know until the first round of pit stops, where people are effectively showing their hand by coming in. So we might see some unexpected names at the top. But, I think all names are unexpected at the top, because we don't really know how the pecking order is going to go, aside from what we've just learnt from Q1.
And even so, some drivers and cars sort of work a little bit better with fuel than other ones. So it will be an interesting session to see how the drivers handle it, because I don't think it's really been done certainly not been done in ASR before. I know some of the drivers, Matt Webb did a bit of Formula 1 racing with myself back in the day, so he knows how it works, but outside of that I'm not really sure who else has done a session where you've had to qualify race fuel. And Tara across the line at 26.4, that is going to be a tough time to beat, I think, in race trim. That is a very handy time.
Yeah, he was definitely faster through the first sector than about 5 or 6 of the other cars who had set first sector times when I looked at the timing screen. So we've got Yuji Ide on screen. Matt Webb's just about to come across the line, so I'm just going to follow him on the timing screen to see what he can do, because I think he is likely to be quick in that BMW. He slots into third behind Brendan Ross.
Rossi there, we've got Noah Tara going purple again in the first sector. Trent Allen now in the other BMW, in the Villeneuve car. He goes into 4th place. We jump back to Noah Tara. And
he's just looking confident and clean, isn't he? Purple first sector, and wouldn't be surprised to see a purple second sector. There we go. Very good.
And very confident, just throwing that car in, trust the downforce on it. And looking very good out there.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, the rule was that the load that they leave the pits with in Q2 is the load they have to start the race in with.
That is correct. So
so from that point of view, it makes sense to just sort of keep running for these 10 minutes and run that fuel load down. So that
pit stop, yep.
Well, potentially, yeah.
So the old strategy back in the day, 2006-7, was the drivers would essentially just run through the session, get to about 4 minutes to go or so, put a fresh set of tyres on, and then go and set your flying lap. So
now, does AMS let you do that during a qualifying session?
It does, but we've been having some problems with old AMS sort of working as intended. I did test it quite a while ago and it worked, and then I did go and try and finalise things today to make sure it all worked, and it didn't want to play ball exactly, but you can change tyres in the pit stops. So they should be able to do that and replicate that.
Now, Trent Allen has squeezed his way marginally in front of Brendan Ross, but still the best part of a second behind Noah Tara, who's just looking pretty hard to beat right now. We'll see whether the fuel load ends up being a factor there, but that is a big gap between first and second as it stands.
Yeah, that is a big gap. He's been a driver over the past 6 to 8 months that's really come on strong in all the series of his running, so he's continuing on that form and showing that he can do it not just in, say, GT spec machinery or in a supercar, he can also do it in an open wheel Formula 1 car as well, so looking really good at the moment. Allen just down and maybe picked up the track cut down there at turn 11 down there, but doing a good job there in second place.
To the pit. No, sorry, no, he hasn't gone back to the pits. That was you changing camera angles. My apologies. So yeah, no, not looking like he was going to improve on the 127.4, which he laid down to jump into second place. But he's staying out, so he will potentially just keep circulating, as we suggested might well be the best strategy in this qualifying session. Steve Warwick on screen now.
That way just improving. Still have yet to see Higginson, Warwick, Stenberg set a lap time as yet. John McDonald and Ryan Cox in 29. I don't think they're quite representative just yet as well.
Stenberg's just made it out onto the racetrack, so he will be on his out lap, I believe.
Oh, Warwick's ladies. Almost blocked it, but he'll live to fight another day.
Yeah, thankfully floor damage not replicated in quite the same way that it was in real life. So Steve Warwick will continue on, but I don't think that will be his best lap. Well, having said that, he hasn't actually set a time yet, so this will be his best lap because it'll be better than nothing.
Yeah, he's
comes to the line.
Just got to set just get on the board and now try and not run off the road down there at turn 12.
So that's 9 of our runners who've set times now, just looking for Kurt Stenberg to set a time, and he's still on his out lap. He's coming around towards the back sector now.
So it looks like he's going to go through. He's just warming the tyres up a little bit. So he's coming out halfway through the session. I wonder if he's just going to do the one run and we will continue on. Do have a yellow out there. That may just be someone just backing up to give themselves space. No, it's like someone's had
it looked like they were recovering. That was the Toro Rosso of Ryan Cox there. So that car is going to be a bit annoyingly in the way for Kurt Stenberg. As mentioned in the driver's briefing, the dirty air is modelled here, so he will be affected by that. You see mitigating effects at turn 1, so I would have to think Kurt Stenberg's lap is being hampered somewhat here.
Yeah, not going to be an ideal lap for him, so he'll have to go around again, and maybe he'll back off towards the end of the lap just to give him space. And you can just see that nose of that car just doesn't want to get in anywhere. That's another thing I think, Stairs, that a number of these drivers haven't experienced before, because it's not normally modelled in a lot of mods that these drivers have run. Is the dirty air, which is modelled with this mod, and it's quite severe. You will get a lot of aero wash, and that means the front end of the car, when you say within 1.5 seconds, doesn't really want to work in the high speed stuff. Yeah,
it's an era of Formula 1 where the cars started, developing these sort of cancerous little giblets and tumours and stuff for aero on the bodywork of the car, and it was just terrible for trying to follow the car behind, or the car in front, I should say, because you don't tend to follow the car behind.
I've seen UGE Day actually jump up into second place at the moment. Luke Rosella.
Well done.
Having a fair old crack, 0.5 away from Noah Tara.
I think backed out of this to give himself some space now, but there's a yellow flag, and was that the Toro Rosso going off?
Yes, that was. So he's going to be a bit annoyed with that he's backed off and lost time. And Brendan Ross has also just improved. And Matt Webb's about to start on that.
Yeah, so Brendan Ross, Trent Allen, Matt Webb, those guys are all really, really close. UGE Day's time is 0.6 slower than Noah Tara, so that's a decent old time, I'd have to say, as we are looking at Matt Webb diving into turn 3 and around this sort of car park section of the racetrack. So he doesn't have to have too much of an improvement to find a couple of positions, really, and he is up on his PB there by a margin that should put him up into second place, or third place, maybe second, if he can find a bit more time.
See how he goes here in the middle sector. He's coming up to a car. From here it looks like Stenberg. Yeah,
well, he shouldn't be held up by Stenberg, yeah. Stenberg himself, Stenberg's 1.6 seconds through the second sector off of time by Noah Tara and has backed out of that lap, so let's Matt Webb through as we continue on board here for this final part of the lap for Matt Webb. Looking very good, I have to say.
Yeah, he's up overall 1.5 tenths of a second split, but obviously we'll see what the final section can bring for him. No mistake at the final corner.
Yeah, he's done well there, so he's got cleanly onto the throttle, to the line, the drag race for Matt Webb. It is second place. He jumps ahead of UGE Day by, what's that? Gee, he nearly knocked off Noah Tara there. Tenth and a half. Well done.
Not far away. So purple in the middle sector, 23.2 for him. And he'll be looking to improve.
Did look good through that middle sector, didn't he? So, now, while we're watching that, Kurt Stenberg sort of bailed out of his second attempt, so he's currently 10th, but he's definitely got more pace in it as he circulates in that Panasonic Toyota to try and get some of the fuel down. He's down again, Kurt Stenberg. Kurt Stenberg by 1.1 seconds over Noah Tara, so that would put him around about sort of 6th or 7th together with John McDonald, Steve Warwick. Steve Warwick's just jumped into 7th place, I believe, and so it's tight in that sort of middle part of the top 10.
Yeah, it is 1.6 off at the second split, a lot of understeer there. So I wonder if he's got a lot of fuel on board in that car. That will be something to look out for. Now my tip would have been to go with a 2-stop around here. It gives you some good flexibility as well as, your car being light enough to get some lap time out of it. But the 1-stop is going to be a struggle. Lap time wise and qualifying wise, you are going to be out of position a little bit, but he's backed off again, so he looks like at the moment he's just circulating and he's going to go for one final run at the end.
Maybe he's sandbagging.
Could very well be. Did have Noah Tara going around very quickly.
Sorry, Kurt Stenberg's exit out of the final corner onto the lap that he's just started was hairy at best, and I think he might have hit the wall, so I don't know that that's the ideal start to his... Yes, he did hit the wall, didn't he? So just, that understeer that you were talking about earlier on in the previous lap, continuing, and I suppose when he slowed down to let those cars behind, he lost any tyre temperature that he might have gained throughout the previous lap as well, so that probably didn't help as well as Kurt Stenberg puts it in the wall and spins around. Oh dearie me, he's probably going to struggle to improve now if he's put any damage on that car. At that point, do you just continue to, bring the fuel load down?
I reckon he'll have a bit of suspension damage with that, and he is in the gravel trap down there at turn 6-7 down there. So,
and he's gone back to the pits as well.
His qualifying session's done. We did have Tara and Matt Webb dueling it out at the moment for pole position. Tara very close to his own personal best in the first sector, good in the middle sector. What can he manage here in the final sector?
Yeah, no. Well, if the goalposts are about to move, we'll know in a few moments because Matt Webb's about to cross the line and he doesn't improve. 3/10 down. So Noah Tara will be next across the line and he doesn't improve, also about 3/10 down. So they might have peaked. They'll get one more opportunity each and that'll be it for this following session. There's just 30 seconds remaining.
Yeah, so these drivers now on their final lap. UGE Day about to start his lap. He's got a bit of traffic in front of him though. It's one of the Hondas. That's Brendan Ross that is in front of him.
Brendan Ross running the red T-bar.
And he's with in the Rubens Barrichello car. who described his car handling like a pig during this event in 2006.
Which is not ideal, but he had moved from Ferrari. Was it 2005 to 2006, or was it the year before he moved?
Yeah. 05 his last year at Ferrari, and then moved to Honda. One fact I did find out only fairly recently, he didn't learn to left foot brake until midway through this year, and well, maybe even been actually later in 09 that he learned to actually left foot brake, and he found a lot of time doing that. So
yeah, I can imagine.
One of the last
Formula One.
Yeah, one of the old school heads. Obviously, he did start back in the mid to early 90s and went through all the changes. I think his first couple of years, he would have maybe had a manual gearbox to, a few years in, ending up with obviously paddles.
But yeah, they wouldn't have had foot clutches from about the mid-90s, wouldn't they? When semi-automatic gearboxes come in and hand clutches?
Oh yeah, the top teams would have been, they just would have had the brake and the accelerator very early on. Brendan Ross was on a very handy lap. His last sector here, a bit scruffy. Oh, and he's locked up in the penultimate corner. I wonder if he'll still improve though. Was up on his own time. It's actually fairly competitive in the middle sector.
Tara and Webber in the pits. Sorry to cut across you there. Tara and Webb went into the pits. Brendan Ross doesn't improve, and Yuji Ide improves his time, but not his position. So stays third, but came to within a tenth of a second of Matt Webb there. So close at the top.
That's a great effort from Luke Rosella / Yuji Ide. And that is a fantastic effort as well from Noah Tara and Matt Webb in the Williams and the BMW Sauber.
Looking the goods, Noah Tara. Pole position. I don't believe we have any other cars still on competitive laps, so that is pole position for Noah Tara, who will share the front row with Matt Webb in the BMW Sauber.
Yep. I'm being told to turn my voice up, but I don't think I've got the option to do that, so I do apologise if I am coming through just a little bit quiet. I can't really do too much about it. I'll move my microphone about and move closer to it. But that is qualifying done and dusted. Will be a 5. Will be about a 10-minute break or 10-minute warm-up session for these drivers. I was going to give them a driver's briefing during that, but because I've pretty much already done it anyway. There's no point as we see Brendan Ross mucking around out there, just dropping it. At turn 13, I think it is.
The warm-up is a good opportunity for drivers to have a comfort break or get any hydration or snackage they may require, because it is a long race. It's 2 hours or 58 laps, whichever comes first. So that is a big distance. That is the full race distance. I think there was a graphic up on the screen earlier that said race distance stairs. But
that's
I think
just a minor Photoshop thing there. I forgot to get rid of that. I did put that one
all
together
good.
at the last minute. I do have to update the graphic as well for obviously the grid for the race. But that's qualifying done and dusted. We'll have a 5 or 10 minute break here in the commentary box, just so I can sort just the graphics out for the grid and obviously get ourselves ready for what is going to be probably a fairly long race. Hopefully it's an entertaining one with some very close times there, and of course who knows what the strategy is going to, what strategies the drivers are on, with various lap times being set, with some drivers, obviously Noah Tara very quick, Matt Webb very quick, but who knows what fuel load they're on. They could be like Toyota towards the back end of their Formula One program, where they would run pretty much no fuel, or it could actually be genuinely fast. We'll wait and see in about 15 minutes time. Anyway, we'll take a short break, but we should be back shortly for the 2006 Foster's Australian Grand Prix.
I'm just going to go to the loo. Be back in a sec.
All good, mate. Got plenty of time.
Cool.
And welcome back. I do apologise for the break. Had to go and manually do the old graphics, and Photoshop was being a bit of a dog. So we're back. Do apologise for the break, and I did forget to modify the graphic here. So stairs is race distance.
I can't wait to be I can't wait to be the race distance.
Yep. So when stairs
you can
is
also
good,
call me 58 laps.
but the warm-up session's over, qualifying is over, and there's not long left. It has ticked over to the race session, but we'll just go over some circuit information here. With here we are, Albert Park. 3 sectors, of course, 5.3 kilometres, 58 lap distance, and fairly simple circuit for these Formula 1 cars stairs, but it is a challenge with the walls being so close. Yeah,
it sort of doesn't have the feel of other street circuits. It's fast, it's flowing. It can be hard to pass at in some points, but certainly turn 1 is a zone to look out for, especially on the first lap, and turn 3 a common overtaking opportunity as well.
Yep. With the official lap record, 1 minute 24.125, or at least that was the lap record at the time. In real life, of course, with the circuit being changed and the cars being slightly faster, of course, nowadays, that record, I believe, has been surpassed. And, drivers now not too far away. Well, they have begun the formation lap, and with that, I'll try and bring up a graphic for the grid. So if it wants to play a ball...
Let's hope so. You spent a fair bit of time on it during the break.
Yeah. Let's have a look here. Special. And do apologise. This is amateur spec here, but...
This is just an exhibition, It's not. It's not serious. We're not racing for sheep stations here.
And there we go. And that is the grid. So we have Noah Tara starting from pole position again. This is pole spec, graphic spec, and display capture. This is being done on the fly. So Noah Tara will start from pole position with Matt Webb there. Second place, UGE Dave will start from 3rd position. And then we'll have Brendan Ross with Alan in 5th. John McDonald in the second Honda in position 6 with Ryan Cox in 7th. Good effort from him in the Toro Rosso. Steve Warwick in the Ferrari will start from position number 8. Then we have Nathan Higginson starting from 9th place ahead of Kurt Stenberg in the Toyota Corolla. And that is the top 10. And we'll flip over the page and hopefully it will load to the second half of the grid. And then we have Termo for Red Bull will start out of position 11. And someone having a half spin there, looked like. A formation lap, a little bit of lag, but yeah, Termo, aka Curtis McManus, will start 11th place for Red Bull. Tight band, a late inclusion after dropping out earlier on after pre-qual. He'll start from 12th ahead of Alpes, which is Rhodey. We've got a car starting in the pit lane there.
That is Alpes, that is Ben Rhodes, so some late mail. He didn't make the grid in time.
Well, so there you go. And we were meant to have Kai Jones start from the back of the grid. So that's that. We're past amateur hour with the graphics.
I did appreciate the period-specific graphics, though. That certainly brought back memories as we get the cars lined up on the grid to start this race, Lewis.
Yeah, I wonder how many people have practiced these starts.
I think one of the renos in the back, that's Nathan Higginson, pointed to the centre straight away, so he doesn't have any confidence at all in the car in front. But the lights are on. We're about to get racing for 58 laps here at Albert Park. And away they go. It was a very good start from Matt Webb, who looks to have got the job straight away ahead of the pole sitter in Noah Tara. But can Noah Tara sweep back around the outside?
They're both wide.
They've driven each other out into the grass, and UGE gets the lead. 4-2 by the Honda. What a start!
Two Hondas in the lead, one of them a factory car and one of them, well, just a home brand budget car. And the Renault spun, and Higginson's gone around, he's outbraked himself. Igmanis has gotten involved as well. LP's having to wait until, of course, the first driver reaches the first sector mark, but already we've had drama. A Super Aguri leads a Grand Prix, something it never did in 2006.
No, so Brendan Ross is already 9/10 of a second behind. Remember, no DRS because it didn't exist in 2006 and wasn't going to for another 4 or 5 years. So he's not going to have to worry about cars blasting past with their rear wings open. They'll have to do it on track. But Yuji Ide, I wonder how much fuel is in that car. You said during qualifying, Lewis, that he was planning to push this thing as hard as it would go, and there was a risk that he might put it in the fence doing that. How much longer can he stay in front of Brendan Ross, if indeed Brendan Ross can catch him?
Well, we do know that Yuji Ide is one of the best drivers in sim racing at the moment, so... And these cars, I think, do suit him more than what we see him in more often, the supercar and iRacing, and of course, over in ASC. So he is in his element, but he's in a car significantly slower. So I think consistency-wise, he'll be one of the better cars out there. But of course, that car is going to be much slower than his competitor. The front three have broken away from Matt Webb a little bit, and then there's quite a handicap back down to Steve Woke. So already seeing some gaps. But it will be interesting to see if the likes of Kai Jones in his Ferrari and Nathan Higginson can make their way forward in the faster cars here.
Well, Brendan getting into a good rhythm early on and really closed down Yuji Ide coming down into turn 3 on this, the second lap out of 58. So this is definitely a battle worth watching. Noah Tara will be frustrated with his start and probably frustrated a little bit with Matt Webb driving him onto the grass, but Webb was the loser after going into the first corner first and ended up coming out of it fourth.
2.6 seconds off, but of course these guys probably going to start battling, and I would expect Webb, once he does compose himself, to just claw his way back, although he's a little bit wide there on the exit of turn 12. Steve Woke now breaking away from John McDonald, who's got Trent Allen right behind him as well. So this midfield looking pretty close at the moment, with Ryan Cox just holding on to 8th place, which in real life back then was the final points paying position. So that would have been a very good result for Toro Rosso, because I think they only scored 1 point for the entire 2006 campaign in what was the 2005 Red Bull car, albeit with some slight tweaks.
It's the top 3, very, very close early on in this race, and a bad exit by the looks of it from Brendan Ross out of turn 2. Looking to go defensive as they head down to turn 3, which forces Noah Tara to try and drive around the outside. Nearly does so, and that's a very, very wide Honda that is letting Yuji Ide get away into the distance. Yuji Ide, if you've just joined our broadcast, that is the pseudonym for Luke Rosella, who is driving that Super Aguri very, very well out in the lead of this race so far.
Yeah, doing a fantastic job. Obviously avoided all the, I wouldn't say carnage, but the mayhem of turn 1. And doing a good job out in the lead. But I wouldn't say it's not a sister car, but both powered by and sponsored by, of course, Honda. The manufacturer, the main team, is doing the job for the sister team at the moment. As Noah Tara very wide on the grass. You don't want to do that too often. As Timo Glock found out the hub. Oh, and Termo going slowly. He looks like he's crabbing. He's got some suspension damage already.
Well, we saw him caught up in that turn 3 incident on the first lap, so I don't know if he's had an issue after that, but that is looking like he will either have to come into the pits for a lengthy repair or may well be one of our early retirements. We've seen the replay being queued up there on your screen there, Lewis.
Yeah, I did try to go all the way back, but I think it must be that first lap drama may have picked up damage, and that's another thing these drivers have to contend with. Like, even with these... the server's set to 50% damage, but these cars are sensitive. They're not like the modern cars where they're essentially tanks compared to their predecessors. If you hit a wall, you will cop suspension damage and throw the car out, and you will be crabbing. So Termo, unfortunately, finding that out the hard way as we got the second and third duking it out here. Tara up the inside.
Well done. I was about to say they'd really closed up on UGE Day, but they've fallen back a few car lengths with that side-by-side action. Great move from Noatara. Not really the most commonly used overtaking point on this racetrack, but he did it really well. So took advantage of a mistake from Brendan Ross and was able to get his nose up the inside. We're just seeing the replay there, and that was brave. It's not really a straight here. It kind of goes left and right, even though it's flat out. Took a tight line in and very clean, very well done from Noatara as he finds his way onto the back of UGE Day.
Yeah, so it did look like that Ross just caught out a little bit from E-Day. Also, I think the Dirty Air did miss the apex at turn 5 and was balked just a little bit from the Super Guru in front, and that was the invitation that Noatara was looking for. He's pushing hard out there, Tara, but again, the pit stop strategy, who knows how that's going to play out. He could be on a very light fuel load. We did just see Matt Webb on the previous lap set the fastest lap of the race. He's now 2.4 seconds off the lead, but Noatara at the moment, he is pushing hard.
Yeah, well, his fastest in the Q1 session to get into the top 10, and then went ahead and put the car on pole position. So he has looked the form man throughout the day. And just the question is whether he can put it together for 58 laps as he goes onto the grass there. Very easy to put it into the wall when that sort of thing happens. There is a yellow flag momentarily. I think I saw a car off the road in the back of that shot. It is Termo still trying to recover. That's interesting. Yeah. So he didn't come into the pits on the previous lap.
He may have come into the pits, but it hasn't fixed the car, and he's just driving around slowly at the moment.
That's a shame.
Please out there in 13th and Taipan there in 12th. Higginson, though, slowly catching up to the back of Kai Jones here, and those guys, I think they're making gain on Stenberg and Cox, but not by much. But Cox doing a good job here, holding off Stenberg in the Toyota.
Definitely. So 9th place. We think he might have gone for a heavy fuel load. Didn't really get a banker lap in qualifying. Had a couple of issues with traffic and then put it in the wall. So we don't really know where Stenberg's pace is. He was decent in the Q1 session to get into the top 10. So the jury's out on his pace. I think he might be one to look out for later on in the race.
Yeah, we'll certainly see. I think the next 10 laps or so is really going to... Always is wide in the final corner again, just struggling a bit in the dirty air. I think we'll see the next 10 laps what fuel loads people...
Battle for the lead is on. Sorry to cut across you there, Lewis, but Noatara's gone down the inside at turn 3 on UGE Day, and that was another clean move from Noatara. He's got the job done, and he's in the lead of the race.
Alright, so let's cut to a replay. So Ide not quite getting the ideal run at turn 1, but that Williams is so much faster through the corners. And gets the slipstream. Ide not fighting it too much.
No, I don't think he saw any point in defending it because the amount of distance that Noatara clawed back along that straight probably wasn't really worth it in the end. And he will know UGE Day what his fuel load is and whether or not he's actually in this fight based on the speed of the car or whether he's just sort of up there artificially by means of a low fuel load.
Yeah, we'll certainly find out. And now the battle once again resuming between Ross and Ide, and Matt Webb also starting to claw his way onto the back of that pack now. So it's going to be a three-way fight for second. These guys have 6-second gap over Steve Warwick, who's just starting to hold up. Well, I wouldn't say hold up, but he's got John McDonald behind him, and Trent Allen also doing a good job sitting there right behind McDonald. But there we go. Straight into the lead, and fastest lap 27.3 straight off the bat for Tara.
Yeah, so he'll look to get into a bit of a rhythm now and hope to put a bit of a gap between himself and the chasing pack, especially if UGE Day can hold up some of the other competitors for a few laps with his Super Aguri, with its genuine lack of pace because of the car itself, not because of the driver, of course, as we know Luke Rosella has certainly got some pace in him.
Yeah, I did a little bit of testing stairs after the pre-qualification just to see the difference between the two, and between the Renault and the Super Aguri it was about 5.5 seconds.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It really does make what he's doing very impressive here, doesn't it?
And it also, another thing to take note of that as well, it's not just through the corners that it's slower, it's also about 20k slower, 20 to 15k slower on the straights.
It really is a GP2 car in comparison to to the others, isn't it?
It is, and he's trimmed, well, the rear wing, I'm pretty sure, he's running that on minimum specifications for Albert Park, which is, I think, 52 degrees from memory on the Super Aguri. Oh, he's wider next to the final corner, but yeah, he's doing a fantastic job in that car, but that is to be expected with Rosella, a quality driver.
Now, Ross is close enough that if he can kind of do what Nawatara did through turn 1 and just sort of cannonball it through there, he might be able to have an opportunity into turn 3. But I don't think he quite got the best run through turn 1. Of course, he is dealing a little bit with the dirty air of the Super Aguri to make it a little bit difficult to follow, and so that does present problems. We did see that on the lap when Nawatara overtook Yuji Ide, is that Yuji had a little bit of a wide line through turn 1, whereas Nawatara just stood up perfectly, and that allowed him to get all that momentum.
Yeah, just slightly wide at the apex as Ide was. Ross struggling just a little bit there. He's not running the high traction control settings, and yeah, just getting a little bit leery on the exit of, I think that's turn 10 down there. So Ide doing a good job.
I thought Matt Webb might have been on the back of them a little bit closer. Maybe he's just biding his time and sort of hoping that situation sort of takes care of itself. But, he's not right up on the gearbox of Brendan Ross at this stage.
Yeah, it doesn't look to be hustling the car as much, but the body language on his car is certainly a lot smoother and a lot more composed than what Ross's car is.
Yeah, as you said that, big lock up there from Brendan Ross.
Yeah, just a bit of smoke ingestion for Webb there. Speaking
another fastest lap for Nawatara.
Yeah, another fastest lap, another half a second or so faster. He's already built up 4 seconds over these guys in the space of, 3 laps or so. So he's pushing hard out there. And Webb's got a good run here. Ross has made a slight mistake at turn 1. And Webb is close. Another mistake for Ross here.
Yeah, that's really put Matt Webb onto the back of Brendan Ross. He was, as we were sort of mentioning, I think Matt Webb is content at this stage to keep his nose clean and out of danger, but Brendan Ross is just maybe pushing that little bit too much and losing touch a little bit with Yuji Ide. So Matt Webb, at some stage, will have to make a decision about whether he pulls the trigger on an overtake here, because he doesn't want Noah and Yuji to get too far up the road.
Yeah, you don't want to let those guys get too far away, especially at the rate of knots that Ide is, well, not Ide, but Tara is pulling away from him. You know, good second and a half a lap at least faster at the moment. So he will want to pull the trigger on a move soon. Are seeing now a battle for 5th place. Is very wide is John McDonald.
Another Glock.
Yeah, we don't want to see another Glock down there. That will be a big crash. But yeah, they've closed up onto the back. John McDonald and Trent Allen onto the back of Steve Woke here for 5th place. And yeah, these guys still in the hunt at the moment, but yeah, they do need to find just a little bit of extra time here.
Steve Warwick, one of the big movers off the start, as you can see on your screen there, up 3 spots from where he qualified in this race, so great start from him, but is now playing the defensive role just a little bit.
Oh, and John McDonald there, just a bit too deep under braking for turn 1. He is getting close, but just can't quite string together the exits he needs to be able to set up a move down into one of the few braking zones around here. You do carry a lot of speed around this circuit with only really 4 notable braking zones.
Yeah, and with that sort of difficulty following cars, if you are not driving so much in your mirrors and concentrating on your apexes, it's very hard for the car behind to actually make that overtake happen.
We've got our 2 retirements, so obviously Ignanis Turmo has retired. We did see him with suspension damage, but Kurt Stenberg has also retired.
It's a shame.
From this race. I'm not sure what's happened.
I was looking forward to seeing what he was able to do, but unfortunately we won't find out. I'll see if I can find out what's happened to Kurt, and we certainly saw Curtis Ignanis limping around the track after that early problem with the first lap incident for him.
Yeah, a bit of suspension damage for him, unfortunately. So down to 12 cars at the moment. Looks like McDonald's had a decent run out of the final corner. Not going to be close enough to make a move this time by, but he'll be hoping to set something up for turn 3 here. Again, that dirty air wreaking havoc, can't quite get the nose in, and Steve just holding on. One thing that will be interesting, I wonder if people will come in just a little bit early, the likes of John McDonald, Matt Webb, or even Brendan Ross, to come in a little bit earlier than scheduled, just so they can get a bit of clear air and try and jump those guys that are just in front of them.
Yeah, so a potential undercut. But this was that certain era of Formula One that was sort of where the overcut was often more successful, with very durable tyres and people running with low fuel towards the end of their stints. They often got faster as the stint went on.
Yeah, the tactic usually was, if you were stuck behind someone, if you couldn't get a move done, you'd just save fuel, really. You'd try and save as much as you can and then go that 1 or 2 laps longer. And then when you're on that lower fuel, you do have that pace because the tyres are durable enough, I should say, that they're still good at the end of a stint after 20-25 laps. Always a mistake from Warwick, and then gone very deep on the brakes there, penultimate corner. And so yeah, go out that lap or 2 longer, and you were able to sort of jump the car that were racing. And then with the refueling as well, you might even take a gamble and short fueling it to save yourself half a second or a second as well. But this group of 3,
good to see them all sort of bunched up in tight little groups, battling in these early stages of the race.
Yeah, it is. You do want in these longer races, just a goal or a driver to get by. And McDonald's got his. Warwick, obviously, he's got his to keep his cars behind. Only 6 seconds away from Webb and Ross, though.
I did go back and see what happened to Kurt Stenberg. It was the exit of turn 6 quite a few laps ago now, where he just lit up the rears and spun the car around, going headfirst into the wall, which damaged his front wing. Well, actually completely removed his front wing, and so that caused another incident where he went off at turn 12 with basically no front downforce, and that was it for his race. So unfortunate ending for the Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, the Toyota Corolla now in the scrapyard. Actually, no, it's probably in the used dealership down there somewhere, being flogged
probably
off.
Got some resale value.
Yeah, I'd imagine that the local dealer's probably trying to flog it off for probably still trying to sell it for over $1 million, I'd reckon. A TF10, I think a TF106. McDonald now in the slipstream, getting closer and closer.
Chance here. Yeah.
Oh, he's on the grass. He's able to turn it in. We did see Rosella in qualifying have a spin doing that, but he's actually stayed close enough here. Warwick's going to have to go defensive. Oh, and I thought
we were going to see a Villeneuve Ralph Schumacher incident there.
It's contact, and that's allowed Trent Allen through.
Yeah, Trent Allen taking advantage. Was there to pick up the crumbs when they presented themselves. So John McDonald, I think he can be lucky that he's still facing the right direction with all of his bits and pieces connected, because he nearly lost his front wing at the first corner when he nearly ran into the back of Steve Warwick there.
And then there was contact again. He did make contact with the left rear, I think, of Warwick as well. So
hopefully he's not carrying too much damage from that, if any.
Yeah, hopefully no damage for either of those drivers. Right on board Trent Allen, see what his view of this was. He's just like, yep, please battle, guys, and I'll try and nick both of you.
Steve Warwick's pretty happy with himself right now. He's managed to fend off the attack of one of his pursuers, but now he's got another one in tow, Trent Allen in the BMW, who is able to follow quite closely through those fast corners.
Allen, though, he's starting to look very racy here, and Warwick just starting to struggle, I think, just a little bit. Oh, and he's on the power early, was Allen, and almost understicked his way into the Foster's wall on the outside there.
Yes, so he's not quite as close as McDonald was on the previous lap, and so that should be a safe margin for Steve Warwick to head down into turn 3 without looking at his mirrors the whole way down there.
Yeah, so he's got at least a few corners where he can just concentrate on getting the apex right. Trying Trent Allen didn't get the apex right there at turn 3, so he just missed it a little bit now. He's got McDonald right behind him. Oh, and he's around!
Oh,
He's avoided the wall.
Well done.
That is fantastic. Hopefully he hasn't stalled it. He has, I think. He's stalled it. He hasn't got auto clutch on. That'll be a retirement.
There's nothing he can do about that. He did so well to keep it out of the wall. I thought, excellent, he'll be able to continue. But alas, he didn't think about the engine. Yeah.
If he had got it into neutral when he was rolling, then he would have been able to get the car started again.
We've got a safety car.
And there it is.
As a result.
There it is. There's a safety car. So, and we've got a Renault without a front wing. No Atara in the pits. We've got a Taipan also in the pits. So
what is going on?
Here we go. The safety car.
Yep, so Noah Tara and Taipan in the pits, as you said. Here comes the rest of them. So we've got Yuji Ide followed by Brendan Ross. There's the Renault, which is that APs, LPs?
Let's have a look. No, yes, that's his LPs without his front wing.
So it's mayhem in the pits. Everyone in the pit lane at the moment.
The pit groups aren't set correctly because there's people jumping into different people's there. So no double stacking. The Super Guru and the Honda were in the same pit group there. But that's fixed up this race. These guys now having to come in probably a good 4 or 5 laps early than what they'd planned for a lot of these guys.
We put our hands together with that because we've got unideal situations for all their pit stop strategies then, which tends to kind of play out in unpredictable ways later on in the race.
And what has happened as well in this pit stop sequence, Brendan Ross has jumped ahead of Yuji Ide in the pit stops there. So I'm just going to cut back and have a look here.
So what might have happened there is that Yuji Ide might have had less fuel on board and so more fuel to put in. And Brendan Ross, if he had a heavier load, might not have needed to put quite as much in.
Or perhaps that down at Super Guri, they've gone and elected, look, we've got to put more fuel in to get to the ideal spot for that second stop. So they've put that more fuel in while they didn't down there at Honda. And, Ross has to come in early for this second stop because, pit stops wise, it should have been about the same. But Ross has jumped it.
Worked out very well for Brendan Ross because now he doesn't have to worry as much about Matt Webb, who didn't get ahead of Yuji Ide like he did, and so he's basically put a little, one of those supermarket shopping centre dividers on the belt between the two amounts of groceries. In this analogy, your car is your amount of groceries.
Yep.
If you can follow that bizarre analogy.
But as you can see, the Mercedes AMG safety car is absolutely slammed. Would not want to go over a bump on that thing.
No, it doesn't look like it would be too comfortable. Left-hand drive as well.
Yep. Another thing to take note as well in the pit stops, Nathan Higginson's jumped up a heap of spots here. I don't think he's pitted.
No, I don't think he wasn't in the pits when everyone else was, so that would make sense.
Now, what will be interesting, if he has one-stop fuel on board, he might be in a decent position here. He'll be a similar speed here after this restart. Oh, a little bit of contact there between...
Gotta watch it, guys. It's very easy to lose your front wing in these situations.
Webb and Ide, just cut to a replay of that and see how... Also, that must have been
Rody. What's going on there? Whoa! Yeah, I don't know if Matt Webb was actually watching as closely as we were in that respect, and Nathan Higginson was probably tailgating a little bit, has to be said.
He does have a bit of a bad habit of being a bit too close to people on formation laps and safety car behind the safety car, Mr. Higginson. Hopefully that doesn't lead to damage to Webb's car or for his own.
So the 7 or 8 second lead that Noah Tara had eked out has now been reduced to nothing. So that is now Brendan Rossi has in his rear vision mirror. Yuji Ide in third place after losing that position to Brendan Ross. Matt Webb stays fourth. Nathan Higginson is up 4 positions from where he started. He hasn't made a pit stop, and so he's gained a lot of those positions during this safety car period. Steve Warwick loses a spot as a result of that. He came in. John McDonald in 7th place. Ahead of Ryan Cox, and Kai Jones is in 9th. So Trent Allen and Taipan is in 10th with Alpes, now with a front wing, which is good to see. So he's gone and had that repaired. Now, Trent Allen is out of the race. We saw a really good effort to keep it out of the walls, but unfortunately in doing so, when he was spinning around, the car stalled. So he didn't have the auto clutch on, and he didn't manage to get it into neutral or dip the clutch while that spin was occurring, so the engine stalled. So it was looking like a brilliant piece of driving, but unfortunately that is the end of his race.
Yeah, that's something. The safety car is in, so...
Quick one.
Yeah.
So
Short,
restart.
safety car.
Short, sharp safety car. Restart
Super short.
imminent. So they have to maintain 80 kilometres an hour until they get the green flag. And when they do, it will be up to Noah Tara to pull the trigger, and there's no passing allowed before the start-finish line. There might have been some close ones there, based on your reaction there, Lewis, but it is Noah Tara through into the lead.
Oh, Matt Webb trying to go around the outside of Ide at turn 1. I do want to see if he did get ahead of one car on that restart, but Webb now under attack from Warwick, and Webb again trying to go around the outside of turn 3, not going to do it. But
Yuji, if he's any kind of driver, will escort him across the line if Matt Webb was to try that, and indeed it didn't work out, so he slots in behind.
Oh,
so
Toro Rosso off in the back there. That was Cox running wide at turn 5.
Yeah, so he's managed to recover it by the looks of it. Manages to stay in 9th place. So Taipan and Alpes, I don't think they got to the back of the safety car, Crocodile, before it restarted. So that's why they're still quite a long way behind. Certainly Alpes is 30 seconds behind.
But at least they're not a lap behind, though. Back in those days, back then, you didn't get your lap back, so... They count themselves a little bit lucky, but of course, this is an exhibition race, so they don't want to have people just panning around, a lap or two behind. Matt Webb's gone wide, and that's going to allow Steve Warwick to go by.
Good job. Well, they go side by side. He hasn't given up on it yet. Now he has.
Oh!
And there's contact with the Honda of John McDonald. So is he going to be carrying any damage from that? It looks probably bigger than it was. We've got the Renault off as well through the penultimate corner. It's all going off. Wow, Matt Webb driving onto the grass. Is he trying to pick up his water bottle or something?
I reckon he's got his right hand down just a little bit. So unfortunately, that contact with John McDonald, I think, has given him a little bit of suspension damage. And
has it given John McDonald damage as well?
Let's on board and find out with McDonald, see if he's one hand down or not.
It looks to be. It's hard to tell because that straight kind of curves across to the right a little bit. So we'll have to wait till we get a properly straight piece of road, but it looks like the car's behaving itself from John McDonald's perspective.
Yeah, a lot of this circuit.
Matt Webb may well have to drive with a bit of damage until the end of this race if that is the case.
Yeah, a lot of this circuit, they're classified as straights, but they're not. Really, the pit straight is the only proper straight around this circuit. Everywhere else there's a curve, a little thing to do it.
Yeah. So a messy restart, it has to be said. They were all kind of looking for that advantage, but you're not allowed to pass before the start-finish line, so they're trying to kind of pull out from ahead of, directly behind the car in front and get that advantage, but it all sort of checked up a little bit and resulted in some mayhem for more than one corner or so after that.
Yeah, so really about a lap really of utter mayhem. Noah Tara is in the lead, 1.7, 1.8 clear of Brendan Ross, who, now that he's got himself ahead of UGE Day, he's able to set competitive lap times, although Ide is sticking onto the back of Brendan Ross, which is a fair effort.
Well, he was getting away in that first stint from Brendan Ross. I know Brendan Ross was looking in his mirrors a bit because Matt Webb was behind him, but it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in this stint now that they probably have a more comparable level of fuel on board as Yuji Ide goes a little bit onto the grass there. He's managed to keep it out of the walls, but he would have lost a fair bit of time doing that.
Have a squeeze at that. Oh, he's caught the grass on the... Oh, he has grazed the wall there, so that's pretty much what Trent Allen did. Just where that curb sort of ends, or if you go just a little bit over it down there on the inside, it will unsettle the car quite violently.
Easily done.
And actually, we'll run on board with him and see if he's left or right hand down here. I don't think he will be.
Yeah. It looks alright to me. If it was a contact with the wall, it was a glancing blow, but more than anything, it's lost him a fair bit of time. He's 2 seconds adrift now of Brendan Ross.
Yeah, and he did say, of course, before the race that he having to drive at 110% just to try and keep up with these guys, but he does relish this kind of challenge, being in slower cars and pulling out results. And the fact that he's been running in the top 3 for all of this race so far is a fair testament to him.
We will see now if he is running a more comparable level of fuel to the others. He might not be quite as competitive as he was in the first stint.
Yeah, so we'll find out. Oh, is Brendan Ross using all the car park down there?
He'll get a parking ticket if he does that too many times.
That's if they catch him. Well, park inspectors down there. The gap's sort of been up and down between Ross and Taro. Did get down to 1.4 seconds on the last lap down the middle sector, but a poor final sector saw that gap balloon to 2 seconds, and now it's back down to 1.9 again. So it looks like Ross, now that he's in this clear air, he's able to run a little bit more comparable to Noah Tara.
Yeah, there's a tenth and a half quicker than Noah Tara in the first sector. In the second sector, again, 4/10 faster than Noah Tara. So I don't know if that was just a scrappy lap for Noah, but certainly on this lap, he is eating into the advantage of the leader.
And Ide also sort of going with Brendan Ross as well, but we did see Ross at the pit stop was able to jump Ide, and I do wonder if that was fuel related. So we will find out probably in the next 10-15 laps whether that's due to Ross putting in less fuel or just perhaps Ide forgot to call his pit crew.
Well, Ide down to 1.3 seconds at the moment, so he was as far out as 2 seconds behind after he had that sort of heart-in-mouth moment on the laps earlier, so that may be putting to bed any concerns we had about Yuji Ide's pace in this middle sector.
And got a battle now forming behind Steve Warwick once again. Matt Webb and John McDonald.
Yeah, so Matt Webb, who we think is carrying a little bit of damage, he's lost that position to Steve Warwick at about the restart when there was a couple of mistakes from Webb and Warwick was able to capitalise. McDonald behind.
Yeah, McDonald just struggling a little bit, did drop off a little bit in the first part of this lap. Webb's got a fairly decent run as the Felipe massacre of Jones there goes for a little bit of an escapade down there at turn 9 and 10 on the red gravel.
You can see the sort of haze in the air there with the gravel being kicked up into the air. So, yeah, I don't know. Matt Webb seems to have the pace to continue to fight, even though he's probably carrying a bit of damage from that incident, as well as John McDonald, potentially, who just goes off the track momentarily in the penultimate corner there.
It'd be frustrating for Webb because he's got the pace to run with those in the top 3, but that mistake down there at turn 13 is hurting him quite dearly at the moment, because not only is he slightly right-hand down, of course, but he's now stuck behind Steve Warwick.
Well, somewhere along the line, Nathan Higginson's lost his front wing, so he was up as far as 5th at one point, but we know he hasn't made his pit stop, and it looks like he's going to need to now, because he's not going to have any front downforce at all, and we're just queuing up a replay. I think we can see he's been in the wall at the same sort of spot that Trent Allen was. Took a very kind of tight line into that corner, and that's a big hit. At the front, he might have some suspension damage from that as well.
Yeah, that second hit I think would have damaged the suspension. The first hit would just be front wing. The second hit on the rear end would have, I would imagine, given him some suspension damage. So yeah, after the safety car, he was able to get himself up into I think that 5th place or whatever it was, and now he's well down the field with some damage and going to have to pit. And
that's a shame, really.
And the battle for the lead is on.
Yes, it is. Noah Tara's really... and he's missed the... Sorry, Higginson's missed the pit entry. He's missed the pit entry. He's going to have to go around again. So he had no steering at all because of that lack of front wing, and wasn't able to actually turn enough to get into the pit lane. And this is going to be a frustrated lap for him. He's going to go a lap down.
The leaders are going to catch him on this lap too. So he's going to have to be wary that these leaders they are battling for the lead are coming up to put a lap on him.
Yeah, now, as we were about to mention, Nawatara's lead has been completely obliterated by Brendan Ross, who is seemingly a lot faster at this stage of the race. 4/10 on the previous lap. He took out of Nawatara's advantage, and Yuji Ide coming with him. That gap between Brendan Ross and Yuji Ide is still about the same as it was the last time we detailed it, about 1.3 seconds, coming down in little bits and pieces. But as Yuji Ide goes with Brendan Ross, he's also catching up to Nawatara.
Yeah, so just lap time wise, the last lap around 29.0 for Nawatara, which is well off, 2 seconds off what he set as his fastest lap of the race at 27.1. So he must have put a lot of fuel on board, or he's just making mistakes at the moment, because yeah, these guys behind him, a 28.7 for Ross and a 28.1 for Ide. Also a 28.1 and personal best for Steve Warwick as well on that last lap. So Steve now getting the message from the cars behind that he needs to go a little bit faster, and he is doing that at the moment. And Nawatara continues to struggle at the moment. Could find himself in the battle for the lead. There's a lot of understeer for Tara in that last turn.
Could do. But yeah, is he just heavy at the moment? And he certainly had the ability to have a longer pit stop because of the lead that he enjoyed before that safety car. So maybe he just decided, well, let's put in a heavy amount and go to whatever it was he was planning to do for his second stop, unless he's planning to go to the end. We don't know if that's
I don't even know
faster or not.
I don't even know if the fuel tank's capable of going a good 40 plus laps of fuel. He might be able to do it, but we'll certainly find out.
Time will tell. He's eked it out about to 1 second now, so he was a little bit faster, about a tenth or so, than Brendan Ross through the first sector of this lap, so it's stabilised a little bit.
Yeah, looks like Ross just struggling in the dirty air a little bit, so he's getting to that 1 second range, gets in the dirty air, and then does start to struggle a little bit. Here's Ross. Got Ide there as well, 1.7 away. Steve Warwick has got that gap to 7.3, and Higginson looks like he's sped his way into or out of the pits. Let's just have a look and see where he did it.
That's unfortunate. It's a bit of that's David Higginson's Ocon moment, isn't it?
Pit lane speed limit is 80 kilometres per hour. Oh, he's not put the button on.
Yeah, he thought he had. And he would have known immediately when that happened. Oh no, what a sinking feeling that is. So
he's gone around again. He's had a spin. As we've gone back live, he's dropped it onto the...
Oh no.
Oh dear.
How's he done that? Because he wasn't on the grass or anything.
Oh, he did clip the grass.
Oh, he's upside down for a period of time as well, which is generally not what you want to be in a Formula 1 car.
Yeah, you don't want to be going down the circuit on your roll hoop, Pedro Diniz style. It's flipped him back over, but he'll have suspension damage from that, and it wouldn't surprise me if that car finds its way into the garage.
Now, if you're Nathan Higginson, do you serve the penalty first, or do you get the car fixed first? I don't think it'll matter, really. I feel like this car's about to find its way back into the garage very shortly.
Yeah,
He's in a dangerous spot on the racetrack.
So I'm just trying to have a look and see if there is anyone around him. So he's in P11. He's got 8th place, which is Taipan. We've got Yuji Ide. Safety car. Yuji Ide is out.
What has happened to Yuji Ide? So
his car's stationary.
He's pulled over by the side of the road.
Has he blown the... Maybe he's blown the engine. He was driving pretty hard out there.
They were told that they can change their engine mapping to get the most power.
Yeah, that looks to me like it's engine. We don't have any smoke on the replay. It comes at a
cost.
Oh, yeah, there's smoke.
So he's blown the engine. Using the heaviest engine mode has affected the reliability of the car, and it's been blown up. They were warned, Lewis.
They were warned.
You tell them yourself. So anyway.
Yeah, run it on. The 3 I think is the race mode, but in some of these cars, it
John McDonald
is dangerous.
Sorry to cut across you. John McDonald is in the pits with a lack of front wing at the moment.
Well.
Sorry, not at the moment. I was looking at a replay. That's happened about 20 seconds ago. So John McDonald was in the pits with a broken front wing. We do have a safety car, so there are quite a few pit callers at this stage.
And looks like Noah Tara, Brendan Ross have pitted. Kai Jones, we did see in Taipan. I think we did see in the pits. Ryan Cox pitted. Steve Work's just coming out of the pits now. I imagine we'll see Rhodey. No, Rhodey's not pulling in his LPs, of course. But Matt Webb's in the lead, so...
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? So I wonder if he took on a heavy fuel load. We know he didn't pass E-Day with that first pit stop, whereas Brendan Ross did. So he had a longer pit stop at least than Brendan Ross, we think.
But he's got track position at least here. So even if he does...
important, isn't it?
Even if he's fueled up to go to... another 12, 13 laps, he can build out a gap on these guys that I imagine would have... From here, if you're going to pit, you'd just tank it, I'd imagine. Which if you do that does come at a cost. You put fuel in the car, makes the car heavier, makes it, more difficult to brake. You got more weight to throw around through the corners, and it just makes the car slower. So
it puts my theory of Noah Tara having a heavy fuel load in doubt, because why would he have come in to make a pit stop if he was heavy already? So I'm a bit unsure about why Noah Tara was slow now in that previous sector. Well, I say slower than he was in the first part of the race. So it's all to play out for. This race is certainly not decided by any stretch of the imagination. We're not too far away from the half distance mark, and it's still anyone's game.
Yeah, I think anyone here in the top three, and then even then, Steve Warwick's shown he's got a little bit of speed in that Ferrari, so if the guys in front have some problems, he can be there as well. Cox has shown speed, but I don't think the car's quite capable enough for him to really compete. And then you've got Kai Jones, who hasn't really looked all that comfortable, and Rhodey's got himself back up there, and you have seen John McDonald have speed in that car, but you did see him without a front wing, so he may have some suspension damage. Just riding on board with him at the moment, looks like he's testing that. Doesn't look like he's left or right hand down on the straight though, which is a positive.
No, that's good. So it might have just been one of those square on with the wall hits. Might be able to see if I can find it since we're under safety car at the moment. But we did also see that, we didn't see it, but mentioning it now, Nathan Higginson did end up retiring from the race after his car was crabbing very badly towards the end of his horror lap around the racetrack. So he becomes our fourth, I can't count, our fifth DNFer after Yuji Ide retired with his engine failure, and then Trent Allen with his stall, Kurt Stenberg with his crash, and Curtis Edmanis with his crash as well.
Yeah, so there we go. 5 retirements in this one. But still, as I said, I've still got, I think, 3 or 4 guys that are capable of winning this race, and that's just on outright pace without strategy. But yeah, I do wonder if those guys behind Webb did fuel to the end, what their pace is going to be like. It is quite a significant drop in pace, and if Webb is able to, say, drive in the 27s here, and these other guys are in the 29s, all he needs is 10 laps. Really, he just needs 10 laps of good driving at second and a half faster, and he'll build up a decent lead. He'll come out behind him, but he'll have fresh tyres at the back end of the race, and those guys will be on older tyres, on similar fuel loads, but he should have that offset with the fresh tyres at the back end of the race. But here we go, safety car is in.
Could be a bit of a masterstroke here from Matt Webb. We will find out. So the control of the restart will be Matt Webb's, and Matt Webb's only. Once he gets the green flag, it will be up to him when he pulls the trigger. No passing before the start-finish line. You can see the Toro Rosso trying to sit out of the slipstream there. A stop-go penalty for Noah Tara. Now, did he actually do anything wrong, or is that a penalty that will get cleared?
Webb's white. That might get cleared. We've got Cox off in the background. Tara's going to go around the outside here. What's happened there? He's just gone straight by, thank you very much. And Matt Webb under attack from Brendan Ross. And Taipan holding up the Ferraris. Warwick having a look up the inside. Side by side through 4. Never usually ends well. Now through turn 5. And Oh, Warwick looking to get on with it. Gets by Type and McDonald looking to follow his way through as well.
Well, he's testing the handling of his cars by diving up the inside, and it seemed to have worked all right for him. And so he's back in the fight. It's fortuitous timing for that safety car for him.
Oh, he's got a hit!
Contact with the Ferrari of Kai Jones, who's off in the red gravel trap. He's managed to get it out now. It's not stalled. And that was looking like he just outbraked himself and had to take avoiding action onto the grass to avoid the Honda of John McDonald.
Yeah, hopefully McDonald doesn't have too much damage there, but Matt Webb already 2.6 seconds off the lead, so maybe that damage just hindering him quite a bit here.
Yeah, so not the best restart for him. Noah Turner will be happy. He's back where he's spent a good majority of this race, out front, with Brendan Ross in tow. And so Matt Webb, well, they lost UGE Day, but he's basically where he was before. He's kind of in that sort of third, fourth kind of position. But considering that he was up in first place at the beginning of the previous lap, he would be probably a little bit disappointed by that.
Yeah, so he won't be too happy again. 3.5 off, so he's struggling big time.
So John McDonald going up the inside and around the outside there of Taipan, who looks to be struggling a little bit to get the power down. He's now under threat from Alpes in the Renault.
Also got Ryan Cox there looking to make moves on the Renault as well. We did see Cox off at turn 1 on the restart, so I'm not sure if he just outbraked himself or maybe there's a little bit of contact or he picked the grass.
He certainly misjudged his braking. He kind of dove from the inside of the track to the outside, so it just didn't brake enough for turn 1, it looked like.
Yeah, so it looks like Brendan Ross has made him. Oh, it's Tara! Tara's off! Tara is off.
He's lost the front wing as well.
He may have blocked that.
He would have done that all by himself because he has blocked. Oh, he's had a heavy contact with the wall there. So on the exit of turn 12, you're going to see it here onto the grass.
Oh, that's a big one.
Oh, that is a big one.
That is a big one.
I'll be surprised if he's not carrying a lot of damage after that. So that has put Brendan Ross into the lead of this race from Matt Webb, and Noah Tara's chances have taken an almighty hit with that one.
Yeah, that's no good.
And he's still got that stop-go, so it hasn't been cleared by the looks of it. At least it's showing up on your screen there as he's still got it.
It looks like it's cleared now. I did ask what that penalty was about to Stephen running the server, so hopefully that's just been cleared for him. But yeah, down in 8th now.
Oh, he's come out without the car fixed.
He had he had to serve the penalty, so that's what he did. Oh no, so he's going to have to go a whole lap with no front wing and suspension damage.
Well, let's see how bad the suspension damage is. Is it crabbing? It's hard to tell, really. I've seen worse, but yeah, that car is going to not turn.
I think he's done. That's not looking particularly good. He's slightly right hand down, but of course it is, a slight curve in the straight there. We'll have a look here.
Devastating. He was looking untouchable. He had barely made a mistake for the whole race. And just that one little sort of slip went just a little bit wide on the exit of turn 12 and got sent directly into the fence. And combined with that stop-go penalty that had not been cleared, that has absolutely destroyed his race.
Yep, so he's going to need really another safety car, and hopefully the suspension isn't too damaged on his car, but he needs another safety car to get back in it.
Oh, he needs it now, really, because he's about to go a lap down. When he comes into the pits, because he's 50 seconds behind the leader as it stands, and so that means that the leader will be coming up behind him in about 30 seconds, and that's the pit stop time, at least, with the damage that he's got. So he's going to go a lap down at least here.
Yeah, so he's just gone through turn 12. Now leader's just going through sector 1. So if he does pit, he should just be out in front of him. Oh, Brendan Ross doing his best to...
Now, Steve Warwick's got up into second place here, so something's happened to Matt Webb. He's still there, just behind Steve Warwick, but he's either made a mistake or Steve Warwick's caught up to him and passed him at some stage. So I'm just going to investigate that and see if I can find an answer to that question. puts Brendan Ross in a pretty comfortable lead now, about 2 seconds out in front.
Yeah, Ross just edging away from Steve Warwick at the moment. And yeah, Matt Webb just in that dirty air, and we do know he's got a little bit of suspension damage as well. But just looking at the lap times, I mean, they're way off at the moment what they were, particularly in the first stint there. So maybe these guys have tanked it up and just struggling at the moment to deal with the heavy fuel loads. As lock up for Warwick.
Yeah, swap of position there, and Warwick gives up the second place just as easily as he got it. So I did go back and investigate that, and Matt Webb was right up behind Brendan Ross and just outbroke himself into turn 3, and that was how Steve Warwick got that second place. So Brendan Ross will be loving this, because the two closest competitors he has in this race at this stage are busy making mistakes and handing each other second place. So if Brendan Ross can keep his nose clean, and I say that very tentatively because we still have quite a long time left in this race. The best part of, 26 laps or so until the end of this race. He'll be looking good for the win if he can manage it.
Yeah, we are just over halfway. Now, I do remember when we ran F197, was he the last driver left in that race? Or was there another? There was another, I think it was 2 cars left. And I know he was one of them, but I can't remember if he was the last car left or the second last before...
That's a good question. I had done everything I could to bury that memory, because it got to a point where we were commentating on one car circulating with still 40 laps to go, and I believe an early lunch was called on that race, as we saw a high rate of attrition in that.
A sporting declaration was declared by the officials in that one, but... yeah. At the moment, though, Webb has caught up quite a lot on this lap, it has to be said.
And Naotara has become a DNF, and I'm not sure if we caught up on that. And Brendan Ross goes off the track and hands back hands the lead to Matt Webb, I should say. That was for the lead, sorry.
Yep, and BMW Sauber leading for the first time since becoming a partnership.
Why did I say all he had to do was keep his nose clean for 26 laps? We knew it wouldn't be that simple, did we? Matt Webb back in the lead.
Matt Webb in the lead. So we've got BMW, Honda and Ferrari. And then we have John McDonald in 4th place. He's had an up and down race as well. So
he's on his own, so he can just put his head down and just concentrate. Excuse me. Because if these three trip it over each other, then he's in a prime position to capitalise.
Is, but again, it remains to be seen if he's got damage on his car or not. I'm right on board actually, and see. It does look fairly straight. He did hit the wall though, but yeah, his car looking straight. And he has made up a couple of tenths on the cars in front on this lap alone as well, so he's looking the goods to at least make it a 3-car battle pack for 2nd place at the moment.
Ooh,
as he runs wide.
He's doing his best impression of Timo Glock, who's getting a lot of... his name is getting mentioned a lot in this particular broadcast, and not for the moment that he's normally remembered for, which is the conclusion of the 2008 Formula 1 World Championship.
That is a moment in history that I've tried to push to the back of my mind myself. I've not brought myself to watching that race or its highlights since the conclusion of that race.
Really? Wow. I mean, it was a crazy race. It was a crazy championship.
It certainly was, but it's still a very dark place in my mind as a Ferrari fan.
I can certainly feel the pain in your voice there, and certainly as someone who
Steve Warwick.
Speaking of pain for Ferrari fans, Steve Warwick in the fence. Has he managed to keep that out of date? John McDonald?
Oh no, he's turned in front of him. Oh no. Oh dear. So we'll cut to a replay. So he just lost it on the curb on the inside, in the wall on the inside. He may have gotten away with light damage.
So Steve Warwick's finally
he's moved to the inside there.
Yeah, I don't think he knew that John McDonald was there. So how is John McDonald faring from that? He somehow managed not to lose his front wing in that incident. So whatever they replaced it with when he had it damaged earlier, it was pretty strong.
I think he's slightly left hand down though, but he's struggling a bit at the moment. Just looking at this replay. John is not 100%.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get to the start-finish straight, and then we can really evaluate just how damaged his car is and whether the steering wheel is one side down.
He's pulling to the left. It does look like it's pulling slightly to the right though, but he's straightening it up, so it might be okay.
Yeah, it certainly looks a bit odd from the off-board shot, but the on-board doesn't look too bad. So, well, I mean, he might just have to put up with that. There probably won't be too many cars out there without some sort of niggle, but yeah, he was looking primed to go straight through into that podium position, but probably could have treated the Ferrari with, like the back end of a donkey there. Not really sure whether he'd been seen there by Steve Warwick. Evidently that seemed to be the case. Steve Warwick turned in and didn't appear to have any knowledge of McDonald's presence there. And as a result, he's down in 7th.
Yeah, Warwick in the pits. I think he's going to try and fix it, but he'll find out that they don't really fix, or he can't really fix suspension damage. So he might just go and do half an outlap here and might find ourselves, unfortunately, a Ferrari down and then down to 7 runners. But see what that car's like. Hopefully that car is okay, but oh no, that's quite bad actually. You can see on the front left there's a lot.
30 degrees right hand down, isn't it?
And you can just see visually on that front left that it's got a bit of damage as well, pointing quite a ways inwards.
It's about to go a lap down as yeah, there he goes. He got out of the way. I was very worried that he was about to reach the apex. Brendan Ross bowls a wide down there.
Got some lawn mowing.
Exactly, you'll have to bowl that one again.
I mean, Honda do make some decent lawn mowers, but he's driving a Formula 1 car and not a mower.
Yes, so, and it's a part of the breaststroke that's already been mowed quite a bit already in this particular event. So Steve Warwick, it's a heartbreaking way for his charge to come to an end. Just as we were talking about the pain that Ferrari fans endure in Formula 1, we have added to that story.
Yeah, so now it's all down to Kai Jones.
Did I say enjoy? I should have said endure, because that's probably a more appropriate term. And has he had a collision with John McDonald again there, or with Brendan Ross?
I'm not sure. We'll have a look here. So he's crabbing along and...
Oh, I think he did that on his own and was very lucky not to take the Honda out with him.
Yeah, McDonald, I think that was McDonald that was there.
I think this is a prompt exit stage left for Steve Warwick.
Yeah, looks like he's bailing out of this one. Unfortunately, the suspension damage just too much there. Such
a shame. Such a shame for his event to end that way.
He was in a good position. In a podium position, but just getting too greedy on the inside at turn 5, and then the contact afterwards, just accidental between the two drivers there.
Yeah, it's just a very unfortunate situation. So McDonald 14 seconds adrift. I just want to look at his lap times. He's 31.2 on the last lap, so he's a good. What is that? Oh, it's not that much faster than Brendan Ross, but I think Brendan Ross had a mistake on that previous lap. Matt Webb's in the high 28s, so yeah, McDonald is significantly faster. He's done significantly slower, I should say. He's done a 33 on that previous lap, and so he was prior to that up in the kind of high 20, so 29s, 28s, high 28s. So this is costing him about 2 seconds a lap, I think.
Well, we'll find out. Last lap he was hindered with Steve Warwick there, so I think this lap here and the lap after will be the laps where we can sort of judge where that car is at. Now, we do have UGE Day to have a little chat with while this race does sort of quieten down a bit with the retirements piling up. So just drag UG into the box here. E-Day Sun, interesting race, unfortunate ending.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. The guys put in so much work throughout the weekend to get the car how it was. It was going good. Because had the two safety cars, so it was a little bit lighter than Rossi and Tara. So we're gaining a little bit, but couldn't get past Rossi because of the dirty air. and yeah, had that unfortunate engine blow up just before coming into the first corner. So yeah, it's really a shame because we were looking pretty good.
Oh, and sorry to cut you off. I've had LPs just go for an adventure down there at turn 1. Hopefully he hasn't got too bad a suspension damage, but we'll just cut to a short replay.
I think he's gone down there to pay respects to the Ferrari that was cannonballed down there in 2002. So LP's, which is Ben Rhodes, is he going to be able to get back in after that? He should be able to. The car's engine's still running and the car's not bogged, so it's just a matter of how damaged it is.
Just beached on the gravel trap, so he's just struggling to get it out here, and he's going to get it going. We'll just stick with him for a sec just to see if he's got any suspension damage on that.
It's probably a yes there, although he might have just been a bit too eager on the throttle pedal there.
May also have a puncture, so we'll just see.
Short shifter.
Yeah, he's got at least a puncture because the right-hand side of that car is sinking down quite a bit. So
yeah,
disaster for him. But Yuji, back to your race. Obviously, did a fantastic job in qualifying to put it where you were, and then obviously the start, you're able to avoid all the drama with the cars in front of you, and even lead a lap for Superguri.
Yeah, qualifying was a bit of a weird one because a lot of the competitors were, boxing or quitting to the garage after they've done their run. Whereas me, Rossi, and a few others were actually doing the more faster method than, doing a run and then putting for new tyres so you burn the fuel. So, really, qualifying was a bit of, not really a representation of how fast we were because, we had a bit of a lighter fuel load than Noah Tara's time. So really, we're about a second and a half slower than Tara, and maybe a little bit slower than Rossi. But yeah, lap 1 was pretty action-packed. I think Webfed gave Noah Tara the old feed at turn 1, and we got through and led a few laps, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so that was a good effort. And then with that, in particular, the first safety car period, we did see you drop behind Brendan Ross. Is that you putting on more fuel, or did you just have less fuel on board than what Ross did, do you think?
I think Rossi had a bit more fuel to start off with. I put about 30-40 litres on. So we're actually lighter than Rossi even after that first pit stop, but I think he had to put on less to get more, if you know what I mean. So yeah, he started more fuel than us, so he put in less. So yeah, it was all good. We got behind him, and just unfortunate that engine issue.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, but still, you put on a good show for Superguri, and you certainly gave it a good crack and a good show. So thanks for that, and best of luck for the next event.
Thank you, and good luck to you too calling this race. It's been a pretty fascinating one. All the best.
All right, cheers, mate. Have a good one.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Yuji. Arigato, Yuji, I should say. So while we were talking to Yuji there, hard to remember to call him that, we saw Taipan take a bit of a spin around. I think he managed to keep it out of the wall, so he shouldn't have damage from that, but that's put him down about 10 seconds behind McDonald. So I think he has been generally lapping a bit quicker than McDonald with the damage that McDonald's carrying from that incident with Steve Oryx. So that may well play out later on in the race.
Yeah, well, Taipan
is in the pits.
Yeah, sorry. Taipan had been sort of struggling early on in the race, but his lap times as the race has gone on has gotten better and better. So outside of that mistake, he might still find himself in a position later on where he could get himself onto the podium. So it looks like we've got Matt Webb in the pits.
So Brendan Ross goes through, and so that should be Matt Webb's last pit stop, I would have thought, with 18 laps remaining in this race. And he was leading quite comfortably out front. What was it, about 6 or 7 seconds? So
yeah, then about that.
Should be quick to the end of this race, I think. We'll see what happens with Brendan Ross. Whether he has another pit stop to make is the big question, isn't it? Who's that other side of the road? That's Rody, I think.
LPs, and he's pulled off and retired. So he must have picked up suspension damage in that spin. Yeah. And we're down to 6 with 17 laps to go.
Well, let's just hope that we can keep the ones that we've got for a little while longer so that it remains an interesting race. although, there has been a lot of DNFers in this race, the who's going to win is still up for debate. We're not sure, and that's the main thing at this stage.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if Rossi has got fuel to the end or not. I wouldn't imagine he would. But you just never know. His pit crew aren't ready for him on this lap. 15 seconds to Webb, 19 seconds to his teammate McDonald. And
he's continuing around again.
Yeah, he's going on again. So
he's pushing hard, I think, as well. Again, steps out through that final corner as he goes through there. So let's hope he's keeping a little bit of margin in hand so he doesn't throw it at the scenery or whack it against the wall.
Yeah, we certainly don't want any more retirements in this one, as so Kai Jones has gone a lap down. I'm not sure if he's pitted again or not recently, but finds himself a lap down. And McDonald, a 30.6, so he's sort of stabilised at that 1 minute 30 mark. And I wonder what Matt Webb is going to do here. Obviously, he's just pitted. What are his lap times like? Because if it's similar to Brendan Ross, then I wonder if Ross does have the fuel to go to the end. So this lap here from Webb is going to be telling in this battle for the win.
Definitely keep an eye on those times. So we haven't had a full representative lap from Matt Webb since he came out of the pits, so that'll be coming shortly. First sector time was a 29.2 from Matt Webb. Brendan Ross did a 29.6, so 0.4 of a second faster for Webb. So that's very good for Matt Webb, because even if Brendan Ross doesn't need to pit again, Webb is catching him at a pretty decent rate, as we're on board here with Ryan Cox, who isn't too far behind Taipan. In fact, it's ahead of Taipan. The thing changed around on my screen, so...
Taipan, what's happened?
What happened there?
He's had an off.
How recently has that happened?
He was just in front of us, so what?
That was a very strange one. What? Yeah, he did.
Oh, he must have knocked his H back. Because it's gone from fourth gear to first. He's lucky not to have blown an engine, so there you go.
He's very lucky, yeah.
That is... having a good run.
I'm surprised they let him put it into first gear. Don't these things have some sort of rev protection on them that prevents that from happening? Maybe not.
Well, I don't think Formula 1 car, or at least these ones, I don't think they did.
True.
And
anyway, that's put paid to his chances. And
Kai Jones has retired as well recently on the last lap or so. So we're down to 5, and one of them's coming into the pits with front wing damage with 15 laps to go.
It's getting to a very small number of cars remaining here, so I'll try and investigate the reason for Kai Jones' disappearance from this race. But nonetheless, the cars that are retiring, at least in recent times, have been just the ones that aren't actually in contention for the race win. Now, Kai Jones was in the pit lane when he retired, so I think before that he was crabbing quite substantially, so I'm guessing that it's been a crash. And it looks like it's the infamous turn 11 and 12 that has claimed him. So he took a lot of speed in there and just sailed wide of turn 12, didn't even make the apex, and went straight into the wall. So that's what damaged Kai Jones's car to the point where it wasn't fixable, and he came into the pits and elected to retire after that.
Yeah. Well, there's Matt Webb. He's done his personal best on that last lap. So fresh set of boots for him, and he's flying along out there.
Fastest lap of the race.
So, there we go.
So 27.9, yeah, not just a personal best, but that's faster than... Oh, sorry, not fastest lap of the race, because Noah Tara did a 27.1, but it's the fastest lap from any of the cars currently in the race, as Noah Tara retired. So, yeah, 29.0 for the first sector, and it was a 29.5 for Brendan Ross. So half a tenth Matt Webb took out of Brendan Ross in the first sector alone of the previous lap.
Yeah, so Rossi's going to have to get a move on here. If he has to pit or not, he's going to have a battle with Matt Webb at the rate of knots that he's flying along at the moment. So, Honda Power, well, it needs a little bit of extra Honda Power at the moment. That gap now under 12 seconds.
He'll be on it in 5 laps. Because he's taking 2 seconds a lap out of him. It's substantial.
Yeah, that is quite a bit of time. And again, he's going around again here, so I wonder if he has fueled that car to the end of the race, but he just doesn't. Earlier on in the race, in clear air, he probably did have a slight pace advantage over Matt Webb, but
is it crabbing a little bit, or is that just my game looking a bit odd?
I think the weight distribution does do funny things in multiplayer with these Formula 1 cars, where it looks like they're monoing or doing endos, so that could be part of it. But we'll run on board with him for a bit and see if he is indeed just crabbing a little bit. So we have to probably wait again until the pit straight. He tries to do what many others have done this afternoon and throw it off at turn 5.
Yeah, so his best lap in recent times was the 42nd lap where he did a 29.2. But yeah, his lap times 29.5, 29.3, 29.2, did 29.7, and then the last lap was a 29.4. If we compare that to Matt Webb, who set his fastest lap on the lap before the previous one, he's done a 28.1, a 27.9, and a 28.3. So he's about to break that 10-second margin down to beneath 10 seconds. That would be a bit of a psychological factor in certainly in Brendan Ross's mind.
Yeah, you've got the double digits there at the moment, but I think when they cross the start-finish line, we'll see that under 10. And then when you start seeing that, and you saw that when Matt Webb pitted, it was 15 seconds, you start to get a little bit worried here. But still, he does have track position. You have seen as well, Stairs, the dirty air has run amok with these drivers, where
True.
It does cause a lot of understeer. Speaking of, Brendan Ross, understeer. And this is the apex at turn 1. Gap only 10.1, so he was a little bit better on that last lap, Ross, but still not ideal.
Yeah, Matt Webb's sort of progress has halted a little bit. He was only a second faster as opposed to 2 seconds faster on the previous lap, so that would probably be good enough. Because, then, if Matt Webb is only catching him in a second, and that's a diminishing gain with those new tyres that Matt Webb's on, maybe he'll only have a lap or two to make the move if he catches him. Well, we know, of course, that these cars are very hard to pass and even harder to harder to follow and even harder to pass in.
Yeah, a lot of fast corners and fast medium speed corners where the aero wash is most prevalent. So it does make it pretty difficult for these cars to overtake, hence why the circuit has been modified in real life, although when you add another 500 DRS zones, it does make it a bit comical. But gap now under 9 seconds, so not being a good lap from Rossi. 30.1 and 24.5 are his two sectors at the moment. So he's struggling at the moment.
Yeah, Matt Webb has just picked up the pace. As I said, it's as I said, he was getting diminishing gains. He did a 27.9 again, which was close to the best lap he's done. In fact, it is the best lap he's done. Last lap around, so he's punched another 0.8 of a second out of the first sector of this lap, and then another 0.6 out of the second sector, and in the final sector, another 0.7 or so. So that is a
safety car.
2 second gain.
We've got a safety car. What has happened?
That's the worst news ever for Brendan Ross.
So
I can't see any cars in the fence.
Yeah, it might just be
just a random safety car.
Yeah, one that's just been thrown. So there we go.
That's a shame for Brendan Ross. So you got to come into the pits, don't you? Get a new set of tyres.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, you got to do it. Put new sets of tyres on. He may have even been possibly fuel saving a little bit to get himself to the end. Now he can just fuel's not going to be an issue. Put some new tyres on and maybe even try and repair some of that damage behind the safety car, and away you go. Ryan Cox as well has been pretty quick. He's been in the 28s as well the last few laps as well, running a similar pace to Matt Webb. I don't think that car's quite as capable, but he has been running in the 28s as well. So there'll be another one to look out for on this restart here. And I do wonder if we'll see... Yes, Brendan Ross is into the pit lane.
Yeah. Now, does Matt Webb come in? That's the big question here. No, he's elected to stay out, so he's going for the track position. He's going to have older tyres, though. Does this flip the advantage in Brendan Ross's favour?
Well, we have seen that track position has been pretty key with... obviously, the dirty air has been quite substantial. John McDonald coming in.
Which is crucial, because Brendan Ross will maintain track position over John McDonald, so he will be second right behind Matt Webb. Cox also coming in. So, yeah, Matt Webb, we saw on equal tyres that he wasn't quite as quick as Brendan Ross because he was behind him at that stage. So, gee, I think this flips the tables a little bit.
It's line ball, I think. Like, it's hard to say. I think Ross did have a little bit of damage, perhaps, from earlier on in that race. So, but we have seen Matt Webb also have contact. So, a bit of a cripple fight out there at the moment. Who's the least amount of who's got the least amount of damage? And the last stint would show that Matt Webb has the least amount of damage, but that could be also fuel load and tyres for Brendan Ross. So.
I think this is not what Matt Webb wanted. Even though he's got himself the track position, the way it was playing out was perfect, I think, for Matt Webb. And Brendan Ross might have been happy to see that his rival didn't come into the pits here. Still got to get it done, of course. He's in second, and he has to make a change. He has to make the pass on track to win the race.
Yeah, we have seen Rossi has struggled a bit when he has been behind other cars as well this afternoon. So he's going to have to, I think, if Rossi's going to get it done, I think he's going to have to do it almost on the restart or in turn 1 or turn 3 on that first lap.
And Matt Webb might have in his mind what happened at the previous restart where he lost out. So, it's mind games here for both 1 and 2. We've seen Webb as well give up positions in, when he was in a good position, he's sort of made mistakes and let cars through. So he'll have to kind of put those mistakes to rest and try for a clean final 10 laps to this race.
Yeah, so this is it, the final duel. And it's going to be a BMW and 2 Hondas.
And everyone who's in this race is in with a shot of getting not just the podium, but potentially the win.
Well, yeah, you could see these guys all battling it out to try and go for the race win, and they get caught up in an accident, takes out John and Ryan, and we could see, Taipan's actually just retired. What's happened to Taipan?
Oh, no.
What has he done?
So Ben Rhodes says this brings Taipan back into it as well. Well, he's come back into the pits.
I reckon he's blown the engine. There we go. There's the smoke.
Another one. Another blown engine. What is he doing blowing his engine during a safety car period?
It is a Mercedes engine in 2006, and we did see Kimi Räikkönen in a good position at Monaco when his car did decide to turn itself into a mobile barbecue. And I
think Taipan's got a yacht to go and relax on afterwards as well.
He might just need to cool down in the lake. Just across the circuit.
Out of that thing.
So
yes, I think so.
So unfortunately,
then
there were 4.
Then there were 4. Yes. So you've got a 75% chance of finishing on the podium if you are still in this race. Then.
And we still have 2 Hondas in the race where we did see in real life one of them ending up just like that McLaren with flames out the back of it. So. If we want to be historically accurate, we could see one of those cars coming out of the final corner with some flames. Hopefully not. Hopefully we see the rest of these cars bring it home. But I think pace-wise, all of them are capable of winning this race. It's all about keeping it on the black stuff as well as being smart about when to move or when to defend.
This has the feel of a 2002 kind of Australian Grand Prix when there was only a handful of finishers. Down to just the 4 cars remaining. Reminds me of that race in Monaco in 1996, I think it was, when 3 cars finished the race.
Yeah, Olivier Panis, David Coulthard, I think Johnny Herbert was the podium, and they were the only 3 runners at the end of that one. Very attritional race, that one. Damon Hill in the lead, blew an engine. Schumacher crashed uncharacteristically. I think Irvine had a coming together. Numerous other car failures, and another fun fact from that race, David Coulthard wore Michael Schumacher's helmet.
That's right.
Obviously both cars, Ferrari and McLaren, then sponsored by Marlboro. And
so just to increase the tension, we've got another safety car lap. It hasn't elected to come in, so we might just do a quick run through, if we can remember, of how each car that's not in this race anymore came to be a retiree. So the first one was Curtis McManus. He had contact in the first lap of this race, the Red Bull car, and retired, if I get my words out, as a result of that. Kurt Stenberg, shortly after that. Now, he had an issue crashing and losing his front wing. You can see it's still attached now. It's been reattached, but he had to retire as a result of a crash caused by that. Then we had Trent Allen, and he had a spin, kept it out of the wall, but the car stalled as he was having his spin, and he was unable to get it restarted because it doesn't have a starter motor, so that's it. He had to retire. Nathan Higginson, now he got himself into all sorts with stop-go penalties, drive-throughs, while pitting to repair damage, and so that car was very badly damaged by the end of that one. Yuji Ide blew his engine, was very much in the fight for the win throughout his entire time in this race. But in the end, the engine gave up on him. He might have been running too high an engine mapping. And then it was Noah Turra, who... I'm trying to remember. Did he also blow an engine? No, he crashed, that's right.
Yeah, turn 12, he did a Glock.
Did a Glock and lost his front wing. Very heavy contact with the wall on the inside of the racetrack. And that was another potential winner out of the race. Steve Warwick, now he had a spin and then had a coming together with John McDonald, which paid to his result here, which was looking very strong also. Al Pease, or Ben Rhodes, he was another car who struggled with damage, and that car was heavily damaged by the time he came out of the race. Kai Jones, same story. It was the turn 11-12 chicane, I should say, that paid to his race. And then Taipan, the latest retiree in this race, leaving just before he blew his engine not too long ago.
Yeah. So with that, down to 4 runners. Hopefully we see the safety car in just a few metres time here.
Should leave us with just 8 laps to go in this race, and we are now under the control of Matt Webb.
The safety car just going the long way into the pits there. And now the pit lane speed limit is 80, so that's why Matt Webb's put his
pit lane speed limiter on.
Yeah, because I meant to hold 80, and he's done it the easier way instead of doing it manually.
Good idea, actually.
And he goes, and looks like he's got an okay run. Hopefully he doesn't do what he did last time and bowl a wide down here at turn 1. But here we go. This is the restart, and we're all through it cleanly for once.
He went defensive, but I don't think he needed to. I don't think Brendan Ross was thinking about an overtaking move there. I think he's thinking about it here, though, and Matt Webb has not gone for the defensive line.
He goes up there. There's a little bit of contact.
Yeah, and you could see he telegraphed that move. Brendan Ross was going to something put aside. They're still going, swapping positions, left, right, and centre. And Brendan Ross has got through.
McDonald's wide. He's around. He's in the fence.
Oh, I thought he'd taken out the Toro Rosso there of Ryan Cox, but no, he hasn't. Who's actually up in second now? Matt Webb in third. Wow. What was he doing?
I do not know how he missed that Toro Rosso, but McDonald...
He nearly took the other 2 cars out with him.
Oh, there you go.
So it's just Matt Webb and restarts do not agree with each other. He's lost 2 positions off that, and Brendan Ross has a 2-second advantage out in the lead of this race with fresh tyres. You've got to say, that's looking pretty good for him.
He's been fairly consistent all evening long. It's just that last stint prior to the safety car where pace-wise it wasn't looking great. But we know Matt Webb has pace in that BMW, but he's got to pass Ryan Cox. And now he's also got to pass Brendan Ross. But Brendan Ross on the fresher tyres, and as is Cox as well. And already Ross playing the funny games and just gone straight to the inside to not give any kind of advantage or slipstream to Cox behind.
That's not sure that he needs to worry too much about that, because that's a long way back that Ryan Cox is in behind him, and he's also in the Toro Rosso, which is a substantially slower car than Brendan Ross's Honda. Yes. Good to see the V10, the detuned at least V10, up in second place. He probably wouldn't have been expecting that when he started this race.
Certainly would have, but as the race has gone on, his pace has been quite competitive, as others have made mistakes or had slight bits of damage accrued to their cars. So he's still there. We have seen Rossi make 1 or 2 mistakes in this race, and if he's able to keep it clean, could see him battling if he can just edge himself into that slipstream range. Of course, will get dirty air, but down the straights, that Toro Rosso is underpowered due to that V10 engine being detuned. So I think it's about 16,500 RPM or 16,800 RPM. But it will be difficult for him to pass through down the straights, but he might be able to set up a move through a mistake. And, well, that Webb already on this lap, not really looking too comfortable. So those old tyres, just not agreeing with him at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's probably similar in pace to what he was before the safety car, but just with the more or less a free pit stop for the others, they've picked up their pace. Brendan Ross really was struggling before that safety car.
28.1 on that.
His pace. Yeah, so 28.1, that's a lot faster. I'm just going back trying to see what his times before the safety car were. Yeah, down in the 29s, so he's a second faster than he was before the safety car happened. So this is just perfectly played into Brendan Ross's hands. It's now a mental game with 5 laps remaining at the end of this one. Can he keep it on the black stuff ahead of those behind him?
Well, that is the big question. The gap has come down a little bit. Cox is pushing. He set his personal best on that last lap, 27.9. And yeah, these two at the front are pushing very hard. Matt Webb is pushing, but I don't think his tyres have the juice left in them to really keep him in the fight at this point. But with these two getting closer and closer together, if they do battle, he is close enough to capitalise on its spin. But
so
this
Ryan,
is it.
Yeah, and Ryan Cox. So if he can keep up the sort of pace he did on that previous lap, he might be able to pressure Brendan Ross a little bit. And you know that pressure can cause funny things to happen, especially as you're getting towards the end of a race where, what about an hour and a half into this race now, and fatigue might start to be a bit of a factor. So now Brendan Ross is doing that weaving across the track to break the toe thing. It's a little bit closer than it was on the previous lap, so he may feel that is a useful thing to do now.
Yeah, so he's done his personal best of 27.6 on that last lap, and Ryan Cox looked like he picked up a track cut on that last lap. So these guys travelling as fast as they have all race. Webb just struggling at the moment, and he'll be ruining obviously not only the safety car restart, but just the safety car coming out, because he was in a position to close down on Brendan Ross, who was ailing.
Rossi's comment at the beginning of this live stream: obligatory can't wait to come second last. And we've just had that kind of acknowledged by Sleep Anarchy, saying Rossi might still be second last. If we have another retirement from this race, and he loses the position to Ryan Cox, he would be second last.
He's second and second last at the same point. So
true, yeah.
It's a fair feat if that does happen, but yeah, looking good at the moment. These guys edging away from Webb on the older tyres. And he may also have more damage because there was a little bit of light contact on that restart.
Yeah, Brendan has kind of he's matched Ryan on the last two sectors of this lap, so 29.1 and very much close to a 29.1 for both of them in the first sector, and then a 23.5 and a 23.5 for Brendan Ross and Ryan Cox through the second sector. So it's very, very much tit for tat at this stage of the race with 55 out of the 58 laps about to be completed.
And 27.8 on that lap for Cox. So, yeah, matching Brendan Ross. Just want to try and bring up on my browser. I want to try and find out the actual fastest lap of a Toro Rosso during the actual race. Because I do have a suspicion he may have gone a little bit faster than the actual car. Just like Yuji Ide, aka Luke Rosella, was good 5 seconds or 4 seconds faster than the actual qualifying time set by either of the Super Curies.
Yeah, Ryan Cox outperforming the car, it has to be said. So he's pushing hard on the first sector of this lap. I think Brendan Ross might have got a track cut because his sector time didn't come up, so we're left in suspense as to whether any time was gained there by Ryan Cox as they come through to complete the second sector.
So fastest lap was by Vin Antonio Liuzzi at 27.9, and Cox has just gone under that by a couple tenths. So certainly out there giving it a red-hot go, and he is edging closer, but I think that dirty air now coming into effect for him.
Yeah, so it's really about whether he can just stay there and pressure Brendan Ross into a mistake. It's just an astonishing performance here, and he'll be feeling that that's so close. He's so close, yet so far, and it really is coming down to the wire here at Albert Park.
Yeah, is it 3 laps to go now? 56 of 58.
Bit of a lock-up from Brendan Ross there, coming into turn 3, so he will not want to do that too many times. Ryan Cox, I think, is a little bit stronger through this middle sector.
Oh, he's almost dropped it. He clipped the grass at the inside like many have done, and I thought he was gone.
It was a mother of saves. He did a very good job to hang on to that. So he was another 2/10 faster than Brendan Ross on the first sector on that lap.
Good reactions there to
He's
hold
managed
on.
to do that without losing too much time as well. So that was the fastest lap as well, 27.0.
Yeah, John McDonald, 50 seconds off. He's out there just blasting away as fast as he can. He could still get a podium if something happens with these front 3 runners, of course.
The car can't be that too badly damaged then for John McDonald in 4th place.
And that time is faster than what any Honda managed in the actual event. The 27.6 is the fastest lap by Barrichello.
I think Brendan Ross is driving conservatively here. Ryan Cox got a bit of understeer coming through that final corner. It's down to 0.7 of a second as we start the second last lap of this race.
Yeah, he was closer than he has been into that last corner. I think that caught Cox out a bit because that aero wash, you could just visibly see the front end of that car. It's not biting in.
This is coming right down to the wire. 0.5 of a second faster Ryan Cox was on that previous lap. So I think Brendan Ross is driving in his mirrors a little bit. He's in his head. Ryan Cox has managed to get into his head. Now this was the moment we saw Ryan Cox have a very nasty kind of wobble on the previous lap. He's kept it clean here on that. He's going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing like nothing else.
Just needs to force a little bit of a mistake out of one of these corners where you can get a run and even get a bit of a slipstream, and that'll set him up for later on in the final lap of the race, and then he can try and force Rossi into going defensive or into a mistake. But he's holding on at the moment. He's doing his best, but you can just see the front end of that car, that aero wash not doing him any wonders, but he is there, and if Rossi makes a mistake, he can and will win this race.
Cox was a little bit wide into there, and so he really needs perfection from here until the end of the race to create something or a mistake from Brendan Ross. Whatever happens from here, we've been treated to an absolutely splendid spectacle no matter what. Even though there's 4 cars remaining, we're coming down to the last lap of this race with the results still in question.
Yeah, this is it. The white flag shown to these drivers. See Cox using all the road on the inside, a bit of grass as well. Rossi is holding on. Gap 5 seconds to Matt Webb in 3rd. But can Brendan Ross hold on for Honda, or can we see the last V10 claim victory?
A bit of a moment there for Brendan Ross. He had another lock-up into turn 3 and a little bit of a wobble through turn 5. So it's coming right down to the last few sectors. The gap pretty much inconsequential. Ryan Cox was actually marginally slower.
He's made up time. Lap. He's made up time though in turn 6 there, and he's right behind him now. A little bit of a lock-up's going to cost him though. It's cost him momentum, but he will get a bit of a toe down here. And
there's traffic. Yeah, there's the toe. Got past the lap traffic.
Oh, a bit of understeer there for the Toro Rosso. Ross just needs to pull it up here at 13, and this penultimate corner, he should hold on here, but it's still not decided. 3 corners to go. Honda and Toro Rosso.
Now the question is, can the Honda hold on? We saw Jenson Button blow his engine coming out of the final corner. He's just got to get through the final corner now, and Brendan Ross will hold on for victory. He's kept it out of the wall. He celebrates to the line, and Ryan Cox can celebrate as well, because that was a hard-fought victory for Brendan Ross, and Ryan Cox gave him a decent run for his money all the way to the line. Matt Webb is going to finish in 3rd place. It looked like he had it all but sewn up in the penultimate stint of the race. But what a great job from our podium sitters. Brendan Ross, take a bow.
Yep. Solid all race long. Did have a couple wobbly moments, but for the most part didn't really make too many or any major mistakes that we saw some of the other front runners make today. And got the strategy right, made the right calls when the safety cars came out. And look at that, a Honda is a winner. Oh, Tony.
And it's still running.
And it is still running and hasn't caught on fire, which...
We're seeing smoke from the Honda, but not from the engine. It's from the tyres.
Yeah, so... Yeah, fair effort from him. Fair effort from Ryan Cox as well in the Toro Rosso, and Matt Webb, who did carry quite a bit of damage after some incidents earlier on in the race, being right hand down. So the fact he was able to sort of come back at Brendan Ross after his pit stop, testament to him that he was able to get pace in that car being right hand down. But fortunately for him, that last safety car did sort of scupper his plans after being a good second of lap faster than more than a second of lap faster stairs than Brendan Ross before it was called. So would have made for an interesting finish either way. But still, good effort from him and from John McDonald to come home with 4 cars finishing.
Ryan Cox was angling to get an upgrade into the McLaren Mercedes earlier in the day, if I remember correctly. So probably just as well he didn't, because he might have left Brendan Ross for dead if he wasn't in that Toro Rosso.
I think thankfully he was in the Toro Rosso. I would have considered if he wanted to go into the Toyota, but I don't think the McLaren would have been quite suitable for where he's at pace wise, especially after Friday night, what we saw. So
we saw that the McLaren was definitely capable of being pretty quick in the hands of Taipan. Unfortunately, that was a premature end to his race.
Yeah, unfortunately, that Mercedes engine failing, just as it often did in 2005 and 2006. Especially
There's
when
lots of sad memories from 2005 with Kimi Raikkonen's numerous failures during that year.
Certainly in my time, Stairs, arguably the fastest car to never win a championship, that 2005 McLaren. Claimed more victories than the Renault throughout the course of the year, and it would have won a good 3 or 4 more if it didn't fail.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
well, what an event. I think we've put on a pretty good show for the first special event for 2023 and the first for ASR for quite some time. So we certainly put on a good show with the race win coming down right to the wire on the final lap, even though we only had the 4 cars remaining out of our 14 starters.
Yeah, a bit of a shame we couldn't have more finishing, but these cars are incredibly fragile. But thankfully we did have Rossi, Coxey and Webby all put on a show, and even John McDonald to a certain degree, although he did try his best to have a 1-car finish for us. But a good special event. We're not sure what we're going to do for the rest of the year regarding this. We may have something like Le Mans or an Indy 500 or something like that throughout the year. But thankfully this one, for the most part, has been competitive. And hopefully the next ones we put forward for the rest of the year end up being the same as well. But we do have Rubens Barrichello, a.k.a. Rossi, here in. So we might as well cut to him and ask him a few questions. Rossi, a very long race, a very attritional race, but you're able to come home with the victory. I guess set up with that last safety car where you're able to put on some fresh tyres. But just before that, though, that penultimate stint, you were struggling a bit, losing a bit of time to Matt Webb. Were you fueled to the end, or was that just your tyres going off? And Rossi has died. So
he's still muted by the looks of it, so not sure if he can hear you.
Go! It happens when you unmute yourself.
Oh, there we go. We got him.
So
no, so I was fueled to the end, but then sort of that was made a harsh decision. Should I pit? Should I not pit? I ended up having 4 more laps than I needed for the rest of the race, so I was fueled to the end. But as you probably know, Lewis, probably from Enduro Cups, like paddle issues, it was upshifting twice and then it wasn't downshifting. So in the middle of that stint, before I actually fell off the road, I was stuck in 7th and couldn't get all the way to 2nd. So I'm sort of playing around a little bit. Luckily for the last stint, it actually worked. So yeah, but attrition-wise, probably not the best to see 4 cars finish the race out of 12. But
Would have been good to have Noah, Luke, even Matty Webb up there, even though he's still finished. But he was just a bit unlucky with the dirty air at the end.
Yeah, it certainly was a bit of bad luck, and obviously you had your fair share with the old paddles. But still, a good result. That early stint, though, you had to obviously contend with the mayhem that was sort of the first lap and being stuck behind Luke or UGE Day, and then battling with Webby and Noah. What was your fuel situation at the start of the race? How deep were you going into that race if there wasn't a safety car?
Plan was, I think, like many, it would have just been 20 lap stints. Obviously, the safety car was going to play in, but we just didn't know when. But the idea was just do two pit stops, 3 stints of 20s. But yeah, that was pretty much how it's going to be.
And then we did see you as well at that first pit stop under the safety car jump ahead of E-Day or Rosella. Did you put less fuel in, or did you just continue on putting 20 laps of fuel or so in?
No, I had 75 in, so I don't know if Luke overfueled. But then I actually thought I saw Luke pull out earlier because I sort of accidentally balked Noah the way I had to get into my pits, and Noah sort of had to wait for me. And then Noah went around and I thought we actually lost. Luke gained time on Noah, but as it turned out I gained on Noah and gained on Luke too, so yeah, I don't know what happened there, but my view was going to be 75 litres too then.
Right, well, with that all sorted, still, congratulations. You've been involved in a couple of these sort of high attritional Australian Grand Prix. I do believe in the 97 F1 series that we ran very shortly, you were one of the only 2 runners left towards the end of that race. Can you confirm if you were the last one left or the second last one left in that race? If you remember, of course.
I think I was the second last. I think I was in sort of a competitive position, but I threw it off the road then, so I was sort of hoping not to repeat that today. But yes, I do remember that one. Yeah, I did a Rubens in that one.
Well, you certainly didn't do a Rubens today. Congratulations, and best of luck for the rest of the racing for you this year.
Thanks, guys. Done well.
All right, so that's Brendan Ross there. Might as well drag Ryan Cox up here. Hopefully we don't catch him mid-sentence, but we'll drag him up here. All right, we've got Ryan Cox in here with us this afternoon. Ryan, it's a fairly interesting race from your perspective. Early on, you didn't seem to have too much pace, but as the race went on, you seemed to find more and more pace as it went on.
I don't know what it was. I didn't really have a setup because I'm still kind of new to AMS and I'm not quite sure what I was doing with it, but it seemed to work pretty well on low fuel. So in Q1 I had quite a bit of it, and then fueled up for Q2 in the race, and it was pretty dreadful. But yeah, I don't know what to say about that toward the end especially.
So with I guess with your fuel situation, were you fueled in that first stint to just go, say, the 20 laps like a number of the other runners, or did you have more fuel on board and just decided to pit under the safety car to just try and go that little bit further for the next stint?
I was full fuel from the start, so I was going to go as long as I could, and then I decided when that safety car came out that I'd fuel up fully again and see how far into the race I could get.
So that may explain some of, I guess, the pace you had early on in that race, where you weren't quite off the front runners, but when the fuel did get equalised later on, you did come into your own, and you're able to match the likes of, obviously, Brendan Ross and Matt Webb, as well as, I guess, some of the other leaders as well. Noah, you're running at a similar pace to what those guys were. So if it's any solace, you had the pace to sort of compete with the front runners, but you just, I guess the strategy-wise, just let you down just a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining in fairly late and giving it a crack. Thankfully, I know you're probably a little upset you couldn't get the McLaren, but I think from a race-wise perspective, it certainly made it more interesting. And you certainly gave it a crack and almost were able to take it away from Brendan Ross at the end. Well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was good fun. I didn't mind the Toro Rosso. It lacked a bit in the straight line late in the race there, so I struggled to kind of, once I closed up, stay closed up, but I was pushing my ass off toward the end. It was good fun, so glad I got to do it. Thanks for hosting the event.
No worries, and congratulations and best of luck for the rest of the year with all your racing.
Thank you very much.
All right, well, with that done, we do have Matt Webb down here. Drag him up for a chat. Hopefully, again, he's not mid-sentence here. So here he is, Matt Webb. Been a while between drinks since we've raced together. I've seen you race a Formula One car, but you're in there. You gave it a good shout today, but that last safety car really did sort of throw a spanner in the works. So it made it very difficult for you, unfortunately.
Yeah, thanks guys, and hope you had a good broadcast. Basically, as soon as I saw that safety car come out, I knew I was in trouble. I don't know why my car had significant warm-up issues. So everybody seemed to have superior pace to me in the first sort of 3 laps after all of the restarts. So I got sort of thumped around a little bit. So even the turn, but I mean, I was carrying damage for the whole race. I got hit at turn 1. I had suspension damage to the rear out of turn 1, and then after the I think I got hit from behind during the first safety car period, and then had an incident. Got hit again after I think on the lap after the first restart, and I had bent steering for the rest of the race. So I had my wheel at sort of 15 degrees. If you went on board with me, you would have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, we did pick that up. That you were a little bit of a punching bag today, but
yeah, felt that. Yeah.
Despite that, and even having the steering damage, you're able to still have a very competitive car out there. Looking back, was there anything strategy-wise that you would have changed? Like perhaps, coming in, that last safety car being called, coming in and putting fresh tyres on, or do you think just getting that track position was the better play for you in the end?
No, I think I was already in trouble. I knew that even if I had boxed and Brendan had have kept track position on me, that I still I wouldn't have had a chance even on new tyres, because it wasn't being on fresh rubber. I mean, as you saw, I think my car got better and better as the stint went on. In that middle part of the race when everybody boxed at the second safety car, and I thought that was way too early to be taking a second stop. So I stayed out, and then obviously got sort of lost a few positions at that restart. I think I had the strategy right. I don't know what caused that last safety car, but yeah, if it wasn't for that, I felt like I was going to get onto the back of Brendan sort of with maybe 3 or 4 laps to go, and I felt like I had good pace at that point. The car felt really good, but as soon as it gave the car a chance to cool down in that last safety car, I was damned if I didn't really. I knew I was in trouble because everybody just seemed to have much better cold car pace. I don't know why. I think if I have any regrets, it would be trying to address that during practice. I just assumed that everybody was going to have that issue, but I think it looked like it especially affected me.
Yeah, it may just be an issue of the BMW, perhaps just not being able to get the heat into it. But still, you had good pace despite the damage, and even with the cool-down issues, you were a threat all race long. It's good to see you back here racing again, and hopefully we're able to see you in some other events that are hosted throughout the year. So well done on 3rd place. I'm sure you wanted to put up a little bit more of a fight towards the back end there, but still a great effort today.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
All right, well, that is just about it, Stairs. It's been a pleasure to have you in the box once again, and just to have that passion back as well. Another Formula One fan in here to host another event, although I don't think we're going to a series this time, as we've seen in the past, and as we've seen today, it is quite attritional.
Yes. No, well, thank you for having me back in the commentary box, Lewis. I'm glad that I could help bring this event to life by commentating on it, and I don't think it disappointed.
Yeah, certainly very entertaining all the way through. There's always some moments throughout the race to keep us entertained, whether it be a battle pack of a few cars, or it be safety cars, pit stop sequence, strategy, and of course the odd accident, of course, as well as the old barbecues next to the side of the road. But it did have everything. Just needed, I think, the only thing that would have maybe tipped it across the top would have been a pass for the lead on the last lap, which I'm sure wouldn't have been too happy for Brendan Ross. But
yeah, don't tell him that.
But entertainment-wise, it probably would have made it, almost a 10 out of 10. But still, a very entertaining race, even though we only had 4 cars in the end finishing. And yeah, hopefully we can continue this kind of event on in the future. But once again, thanks for jumping in, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
All right, and that will do us here from the Albert Park street circuit in the pixelated form. Of course, we do have more broadcasts here on the Loose Sim Network in a couple of weeks' time for the ASR Development Series. And, of course, we do have the ASR Supercars Championship later, 1 week later, of course, as well. That will take place from the Sydney Motorsport Park venue on the shorter layout. I think it's the Druitt layout by memory. So yeah, that will be in a few weeks' time. Anyway, from myself, Lewis Wedding, from Stairs here in the commentary box, and from the ASR team, we hope you've enjoyed tonight or this afternoon's broadcast, and we'll see